the people are with the coordinated attempts are willing to go through. And so immediately I I think about things that I would never have thought about before, which is, is this some kind of coordinated intelligence operation? Is this using atrocities in order to enrage an emotion? And then when you hear about this cocktail of craziness, like either it can be this person is just, very confused, mentally ill, and engaging in like absolute atrocities. But it feels like a massive cocktail of pick your hate, and you can find a narrative to match it. So I find it very, strange that if you are, anti-trans, you've kind of got a little bit of something to jump on. If you're anti-Muslim, you've got something to jump on. If you think that Jews are behind all of these things, you've got something to jump on. And then there's a whole Christian element to it. It just feels like a massive cocktail of pick your version of what the hell's going on in the world, and we can all argue like crazy trying to figure out who's responsible. And then when you take these atrocities and everyone's defensive about their group, it just feels like a perfect cocktail just to cause absolute chaos, carnage, hate, and these atrocity events just seem to be more and more frequent. And so, like normally, would have said this is a crazy psychopath that is doing something, but now all of a sudden, the first thing that comes to my mind is, are we being told that what this is something different to what it actually is? And I think that's a real problematic thing. That trust is at record low globally. We can't trust anything. We can't trust what we see. We can't trust what we're told. We can't trust what the media tells us. We can't trust what social media is telling us. And I think that's perpetuating this pandemic further of mental illness. That's perpetuating more and more of these crimes. So these are just the random things that are going through my mind as we see this. Um, but it's tragic, and this is just an American version of what we're seeing around the world in different ingredients. Um, and I guess it's up to us again to figure out what's really happening, because we can't trust a damn word of what the media is going to tell us. And so we've got to unpack this. But I just can't help but think eventually, I'm not sure when, that all of these mass shootings, it just feels like there's some coordinated, like, operation. And I can't help but think it gets connected to some kind of intelligence operation or something that is experiments that are driving us into some kind of behavior. And I feel like it's really sad that that's how we feel today. But I think everyone feels that way. They just don't
Well,
trust nothing anymore.
just to add a point which might provide a bit of legitimacy to your argument. I'm not saying this is my position, but for people to think about that. Obviously, from the imagery, we know this guy was into some form of Satanism. We also know that on the gun it said at the beginning, and at the beginning of the video it said sponsored by BlackRock. Now, he could either be doing this in a more kind of like dark humor perspective, because whenever there's a mass shooting, people try and look for BlackRock's connection. As per the previous mass shooter, I believe the one who shot Trump was in a BlackRock video. Or, as part of Satanism, is that when you commit a kind of satanic evil crime, from my understanding, one of the things is you need to actually tell the people what you're doing. So you be honest about what you're doing, but then people discard it. So if that's true, maybe it is sponsored by a BlackRock, and that's kind of his homage to them. So this, again, I'm not saying this is the case, but this is just something worth thinking about and exploring What do you think about that, Simon? I just want to welcome Gary onto the stage as well. Gary, thanks for coming. Appreciate you, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a cocktail of pick whatever your map of the world is, or your conspiracy theory, or your belief, and suddenly you can connect a story around how that is leading to shooting children in worship. Like, I mean, what the hell? It's a perfect cocktail of, if you want to say it's black, if you want to say it was avenging Black Rock, if you want to say it's avenging the genocide, if you want to say it's jihadi, if you want to say it's the Jews, just if you want to say it's trans. It seems like every single component was mixed up, and either that's a reflection of somebody with multiple personality disorder that's getting excessive social media content as and is becoming insane, or it's some kind of coordinated operation in order to uh, just manufacture rage based upon your favorite mix of conspiracy theories. I don't know what else to say about that. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. Sarah, I know you did quite a long space on this, going through the specific details and going through the specific writings that he did on the guns. What's your kind of thoughts on that in a more kind
Um,
of overall perspective?
well, it was like Simon said, a hodgepodge. There was something in there for everyone, no matter what your sort of cause is. But at the end of the day, it was an assault on Catholics. The language on there was not predominantly anti anything. It was very nihilistic, very surf the Kali Yuga type, like this very accelerationist ideology and chaos agent. Could kind of go through. I did an entire thread on it. It's on my timeline. It's very sloppy, so feel free to take whatever you want and reformat it and make it look better. But we went through almost every single one of those symbols. And I mean, there's tons of anti-Muslim stuff on there too. There's like remove kebab, stuff about removing Muslims. So it's not the framing, they kind of just they took it and sort of ran with it, but it's just a hodgepodge of ideology and a lot of homage to prior mass shooters for the most part. Very
Yeah,
incelish, like very disaffected sort of youth, that sort of thing.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a mixture of everything, and people have just taken it and then used it for whoever or whatever they do. And we'll go through your thread actually in a second to just go through the specifics of it, because it's worth exploring the specifics just so people understand the contradictions in a lot of the points that have been made. But let's bring in. Oh, sorry, Gary. Gary, thanks for joining us. What's your thoughts on all this? This is a mass shooter. As Sarah and Simon said, this is kind of like a mesh of confused ideologies. People who anti-Muslim are saying he's pro-Muslim. People who saying he's people who anti-Jew saying it's the Jews. People who are anti-LGBTQ are saying it's
Yeah.
LGBTQ. People who are anti-right wing are saying it's neo-Nazi. So, what's your thoughts on all this?
Well, my thoughts are we're at peak. It seems to me I don't know anything about this guy or if he was a setup or just a unstable human being, but I can only speak for myself. I'm feeling at this point um, kind of tempted not to say this because I think I'm a fairly strong human being, but I'm finding this. I think the agenda must be just jack everybody up to absolute max levels so they either hate each other or they're scared. I don't really understand what all this, like, dude, we have less mainstream media today, and the news today is like swallowing, and it's all scary or negative. All of it. Notice all of it scary or negative. Something's going to happen. Nothing about right this second. Um, anyway, very confusing to me. I'll throw in there, this thing that RFK they're approving these vaccines. That's bizarre to me. Uh, it must be 2025 is let's max overwhelm humanity. Uh, um, it's very it's it you know it, it's very if you're feeling disturbed, I'm with you. Okay, that's maybe that's what I need to say. If you're feeling like I'm just feeling like fucking, there's negative energy everywhere, dude. It's a little discombobulating, I must say. Um, and I cannot talk about it, but it is impacting me. At this point, I'm like, God dang, dude, I can't even get joy out of making a shitload of money. And that is one of the things Bitcoin has done for me. It's given me more time to get off of a hamster wheel. Like I realize now, wow, man, the amount of things I have done my whole life, uh, literally hamster wheels. Fucking doing shit for like because I'm obligated to do it, but I look at it and go, wow, that's not really. I make another $1,000,000, nothing changes. This world is fucked up, man. I don't see it improving either. That to me is that's the topic. Is like, how do we fix this thing, dude? Because all we're doing is complaining about all the trigger events, right? These are what's not consequences, but these are symptoms of just mass degradation and decay, man. Like I think I'm going to see in my lifetime, and I'm probably one of the older people here. I think I'm going to see in my lifetime an event that's so spectacularly heavy that human beings just drop all their hubris, because we are like, we're acting like we're in fucking control, dude. There is zero control. And it just seems like the world is, and I know this sounds really negative. If my family is on this, they'd be like, whoa, dude, fucking go see somebody. Maybe I do need to see somebody. But the amount of fucking negative energy that is apparent, even when you turn off the shit, like anyway, sorry to be negative here, but and I'm really sad for that family, and there'll be others of these, right? You're not going to stop people from doing insane, crazy things. It's really, really sad. Um, and who knows, man? You know, when the first thing you do is assume it's a setup, our government, our police, our FBI, our DOJ, our SEC, there is zero trust of anyone. Our churches, every institution we have, like Simon was saying, zero trust. The only way you gain trust back is you admit to being bad, you do your penance, and then the world forgives you after you've, absolved of your sins. You go do your confession, right? No, until that happens, I'm terrified for my children, man. Like I see my kids growing up in a world, I'm like, fuck. I don't know whether to leave them all the money or just to protect their asses, or if and then I'm terrified to give it to them because that ruins someone. But now it's almost to the point, fuck, give them the money, just make sure they're fucking protecting themselves, which is not a good solution. It's really heinous. So I never thought I'd be sitting here having a beautiful view and disappointed. I mean, make that shit make sense, right? Beautiful view, good life, work my ass off. I feel a little guilty if I'm not overworking, getting on the hamster wheel. I have to deal with that myself. I'm stunned, man. The amount of shit I have been doing in my life that has zero value. I mean, we're talking about hours in a day, not a couple of minutes. So it's very odd to me that a man would live his life and then wake up and go, Jesus Christ, dude, I live in a shit show, in a fucking garbage can, where people hate each other. I mean, hate each other, dude. We go out of our way to like dislike each other. And that's just not, that's not me. I had a card game over here the other day. 12 people showed up. I didn't know 7 of them. We fucking had a blast, man. People laughed. We were telling jokes. Some people lost some money. Some people made some money. Black, white, green, girls, boys. I didn't know 7 of them. And we had a good time. I don't see that happening anymore. Do you guys? Like, I don't. Other than spaces, I don't see people having community. Other than the criticism. Like, I've stopped going to some of these spaces, dude. They're boring. They're non-effective. Same old bullshit over and over. And I have to get to a point where I think I'm doing something positive. Otherwise, I'm gonna withdraw because it's not worth the energy. Anyway, sorry for ranting so much, but I appreciate you guys
No, I
having
agree with
the
you.
space.
I agree with you. You need to make a difference. You need to impact the zeitgeist. This is why whenever I've had a choice between money and impact, I've always chose impact. Like the mission is more important than money. Obviously, I'm not saying don't make money. That's obviously important as well. But if there's always a choice, it's always that, because you want to impact society in a positive way. You want to change the direction of the world in a positive way. You want to do all those things. So yeah, I vehemently agree with you, and I agree that in the end, when it comes to money, I guess the only thing money can benefit is just makes your life easier. You don't need to worry about it. And also, you can probably get your underground bunker with Mark Zuckerberg, like get his next door one, you, him, and Simon.
Oh yeah, bro. Me and Simon and Mark are gonna live next to each other. See, I would probably go to prison for murder if I lived next to Zuckerberg. So, because that actually, well, I won't say that, but yeah, I won't be buying a bunker with Zucky Buck, man. No chance.
Zucker, you'll have to.
And
I would
and real
much
quick,
prefer to hang out with you freaks.
Yeah, you evict him from the
Suli, I
island.
just wanted to say, I just want to say real quick to Grant that comment there. I mean, there's probably lots of people
I'm not
listening
Grant.
right
I'm not
now
Grant, man.
that are
Just don't.
absorbed.
I'm not Grant.
Oh,
Grant,
Gary,
Yeah,
Grant.
that's
Gary,
Liam. That's a
my
disrespect, bro. Come on.
yeah.
Everyone.
Well,
Like, you
No,
know,
but
Grant's your young brother. You don't do
ironically,
that.
He hates that.
If you're a
no, that's
twin,
fair. And ironically,
if you're a twin, there's nothing you want more than your own identity, right, Gary?
Well, I think everybody should
well,
have
then
their own
to both,
identity.
to
But
Gary,
I wouldn't want.
Gary, are you
I
a
wouldn't
twin? I
want.
didn't even realize you guys were twins.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Gary and
wouldn't
Grant
want
are
any.
twins.
I wouldn't
Oh, I
want
didn't know.
anybody
I
to
thought
think
Gary was
that.
the younger brother.
No, I wouldn't want anybody to
well,
think
and Gary
Grant.
too, that there's lots of folks that are listening in right now, I'm sure, that are convinced that if they just made $1 million, not tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, that they would solve the world and feel better and love their life and all those things. And so I think the commentary that you made in here is far more impactful for people that might be misguided and led down that Andrew Tate kind of ideology. And so I just wanted to thank you for those comments and to suggest that you can make a significant difference just by sharing those thoughts, those ideas on this platform.
But Ian, like even this Gaza shit, man. I started this by trying to get money into Gaza, and you fucking get scammed, or you end up being told that you're funding terrorism. Like literally, you come to this table like thinking, what can I do? And I know people are feeling the same way. And then we end up on these spaces like just trying to make sure that the world fucking knows what's going on. And I understand what Gary's saying. And then you ask yourself, was the world always this fucked up and we were just not paying attention? And now we're paying attention, but there's also a psyop which is designed to just bombard us with the type of content that sends a human brain insane. And like I think we're all experiencing this, and we're just trying to figure out like what the fuck is what the
I think the
fuck is
world
going
was.
on.
I mean, I think the world was always like this. But what would happen is when they would manipulate people, the vast majority would just be manipulated by them, I think. But what's happened is with the advent of social media, which I think has been the single most important component to wake people up, it doesn't work anymore. So if you look at, like, for example, a false flag 20 years ago, you would do it, you would demonize Muslims, and it was over. Now you, or whoever you wanted to demonize, and it was over, and you had everybody on your side. Now, if you look at it over the last 2 years, there's been, people say false flag is coming. There's been so many. It's just that because every time they did it, everyone either debunked it, pushed back on it, destroyed it, realized what they were doing. They did it one after the other. So in reality, I think it's always been like this. It's just that we're more aware of it now. So we have more avenues because social media, like, as much as we may disagree, and look, you all know how much I disagree with Elon Musk. That being said, I would say his platform has probably been the number one platform that's allowed, largely speaking, the truth to come out. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not always the case. Yesterday was a prime example of a lot of fake news and propaganda coming out. But again, for example, we're on this platform, so we're able to push back on it, and people are able to push back on it. So I think it's always been like this. The difference is now you have an avenue to wake people up.
Yeah, well, it's that ignorance is bliss thing, right? Like we're finding the truth, and now it's being thrown at us at such an aggressive rate, like that
Yeah.
we don't like what we're seeing.
I don't know. I wasn't like that. I
Well,
always like, oh my god, the psyop's there. Why aren't people? What people are too dumb. If only I had a means to tell people. And obviously, I was like, not. I didn't have a big social media platform, but a lot of this, like, a lot of us knew about this like 10, 15 years ago, the psyop, but there was no way of getting to the
I don't know,
people.
people.
X became the opportunity.
No one really knows what his background is religious wise.
So, as an example, like when I look at, for example, psyops that happen in terms of the population collapse, I think I wrote about it 15 years ago. When the psyop, even within, like, the thing that woke me up was like, yeah, I know this sounds a bit controversial, but I found out that there was a psyop even within the Islamic religion. I realized that some of it, or certain parts of it, had been constructed or geared by the Zayos. And so when I woke up and I realized, flipping hell, it's all a psyop, the truth is actually totally different within Islam. I was like, that's actually what woke me up, and I realized that everything's a psyop. It's, if they can lie to you about something that's happened for 1,000 years, they can lie to you about a lot more. And so it's just people wake up at different times and different situations. But I would say X has been, for the vast majority who don't research, it has been the number one way to wake people up. Gary, you can say something? If not, we'll go to...
yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, awesome. I think, what I'm saying is that I see these guys escalating, though. Okay, this is, look, I think
That's a good point, people. Yeah, that was mentioned that he was his mom worked at that church.
Part of our population. I think COVID thing is not even close to being over, and if we start. I think this is what I'm worried about, because I see so much drama. I see people being absolutely overwhelmed with trauma, right? Trauma news. And that puts people in a position where they can be easily managed mentally. You can really, well, we saw what happened in COVID. COVID's not done, man. And I think we're going to have a lot of people around 40 years old. 24% increase in 40-year-old pilots having problems at the wheel right now. At the wheel, man. And we're not really hearing about it and talking about it, but it is most certainly happening, and I think it's going to escalate. And I think I think they know that.
Yeah, probably.
They have to know you're not going to get healthier right now. Okay, the stats just don't show that right now. It looks like, we have yet to. So all I'm saying is, all over the world, and I disagree with both of you guys. I think this is at an elevated level. This has not been done before. You and I used to go to picnics, man, and bars and hang out together. My relationship with you, when I hang out with you and smell you and hang out.
Yeah, I saw that he
said
he was dying of cancer. I don't know if that's true.
Drive or a trip all over the world.
It might have been. I don't know. The guy was crazy.
My connection with you at every fucking atomic level is totally different than it is here. And as good as these spaces are, there's people on these spaces that are saying shit just to say it and excite people. And they're ignorant, and they have no macro view of anything. Which has been good, because you can survey the world and understand how fucked up we are. But to your point, Solomon, I was thinking about this last night. Dude, until we understand our true history as humans, as souls, as entities, and I'm sorry to get so heavy here, but let me put it this way, until I know what my real history is, which is every part of history, in fact, every part of the present time has been lied to me. I have zero understanding on what gravity is and whether it's really real. Okay, so if all this history's been altered from the beginning of time, I don't think mankind can actually make progress, because we're all living under a fucking base lie. The first principle is, who am I? And I don't mean to be going into but like, if I don't know what our species is, and like, we haven't even brought up the alien stuff, okay? And like, either we're being bombarded with a bunch of alien stuff, or this is all convoluting at the same, all coming together, collating at the same time. And I think we're in the next, short order, man. We're in some kind of wake up call because Trump's going to go further. Trump's pushing envelopes that have not been pushed before, and that means the other side is going to do shit they've never done. I think there aren't any. There are literally, you can do anything now. Nothing is off the table, which puts the world in like, wow, jump ball. So it could be very exciting, but I think we all need to commune better, get together more. And that's why I try to bounce around and support everybody. Anyway.
White, I'm sorry you have cancer. I went through that myself. I'm in remission as well, so I hear you. I'm sorry you're going through that.
And all of our governments are broke. That's a reality. There's only three ways.
Total fact, okay?
Yeah.
Totally broke.
There's only three ways to solve that. You get rid of the pensioners. You raid your country with immigrants and try and make them taxpayers and get down wages. Or you replace them all with bots and AI. Pick whichever flavor you want. It looks like they're going for all three.
Dude, you see, you get rid of 30% of the population, and then you don't have the AI impact. Okay, hey, how are we going to deal with that? By the way, we can't even afford the people as it is. So let's wipe out 40% of the population, introduce AI, and then we'll have an awesome world. And we do it through health, and because they can't. See, this is why it's all about. It does come around. I don't think it's all about money, but it comes around to the motivation. Who gets pain or pleasure. That's all it comes. Human beings literally come down to one thing. If you give me enough pleasure, I'll do almost anything, and you can stop me by it creating pain. So we're like fucking cattle.
Yeah, we should definitely do a space on this in the future. I mean, I do think, obviously, I don't want not to go too far down this road, but I actually agree. I think there is going to be a big event coming in the next maybe 4 to 8 years, probably 4 years actually. A huge event, a kind of world-changing event. So I agree with you in terms of what's going to happen now.
We need it, dude. I think actually the hubris of man that how much, like, we control very little. We don't even talk about controlling things. We talk about the problem. But we think we're in such control, and it's just such a lie, right? Like, just look at everything. These leaders are absolute morons. There isn't a fucking leader in the group, man. It's because they're not telling us the truth. And so I agree, Solomon. I think you actually have to go to I've said this for years. We have to end up at a terminal point, and the sooner it comes, the more violent it is, the better. Instead of this, hey, let's do cancer surgery, over 16,000 months. I mean, that's going to kill the patient. He may be living, but it's not going to be much of a life. And that's where we're at right now. To me, that's what the humanity is, like laying down, and we're kind of being, given shit to survive. But it's not. My dogs live better than most human beings.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that conversation for sure. And guys, if you could do me a favor, retweet, reshare the space, and also go to my profile, hit the notifications on. Today was a good example of a scenario where without the notifications, you would not be aware of the space, or if people hadn't promoted the space. So if you can, go to my profile, hit the follow, hit the notifications, because obviously, the purple pill wasn't at the top. Most people weren't aware, and I thought, actually, should I even do the space? Because most people are probably not going to even know the space is on. So that being said, if you can do that, that would be awesome. Sarah, you had your hand up. I've gone through your thread. Actually, it's golden. What was what
I forgot again, but
it's all right. Listen, there was you may not know this, right, Sarah, because you're a Czech. But in the 90s, there was a study, and it was these studies are considered haram now in Western liberal ideology. But the study showed that our recall of a female is much worse than a male. So therefore, you're just being honest and demonstrating evolutionary biology. Sorry, does somebody have their hands up? So. Okay, just before they do, then let me just bring in this part of the flip. Where's it gone? Okay. Where's your thing gone? I had it up here. Oh, here it is. So, there's some Wraith. I haven't heard what you got to say. Do you want to jump in while I get this up? Wraith? Joe, go then.
Can I ask a real quick question to Sarah? So,
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sarah, you said that you were looking at some of the writing and things on the guns. I noticed some writing on there that looked like it was Russian.
I translated
Yeah,
it.
what did that? Can you tell us what that said?
One said like hatred. One said I am a nightmare. Just kind of like gamey things. But his whole manifesto was in Russian. I can send Sully a link to that as well. I mean, the whole thing was in Cyrillic, which is very interesting.
Did you?
So
They even gave us some Russophobia. Is there no Chinese symbols? And
Well, I
communism?
also kind of since we're on that, I
It's
wanted.
hilarious.
It's interesting that this comes out and they're very quick to point out, wow, he was using Russian language, but also he worshipped the Christ Church, the shooter down in New Zealand, the one that shot up a mosque. They that guy worshipped the Azov battalion, and Azov also uses Russian. So Azov is a neo-Nazi battalion in Ukraine. So, but let me just say this. Today, the U.S. House Oversight Committee has launched an investigation into online forums, including Wikimedia, accusing them of anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli information. In addition to this, the probe will also target pro-Kremlin anti-Western messaging, citing efforts by hostile state actors and AI
unbelievable.
chatbots to manipulate narratives. So here comes the crackdown
Yep.
on. So if something's
Chat,
anti-Semitic,
let me know what you
it's
think about that.
anti-American. So it must be Russian or Chinese. So, and this is led by Nancy Mace and James Comer.
Ian, you've not got long left.
I'm sorry,
I'm
my
gonna
friends.
use
One
Ian as a
day,
human shield, and hopefully that buys me some time. I'll hide.
yes,
behind
no,
Ian.
Sarah, you'll be okay. Poof, I'll be gone one day for my hateful content, and it'll be because I said, "Is that a Jew?" Question mark. It'll be very strange, but no, isn't it interesting to hear that it's because of media control and narrative and disinformation or misinformation? It's like, well, who controls almost all the outlets of information, guys? Like, can we have that conversation? Yeah, it's Qatar. That's right. So we're either getting our news from Qatar in the quote unquote mainstream media, or from Russian bots, I suppose, or from Ian Malcolm, the most dangerous guy on X. It's also laughable.
It's the Palestinians. They control the media.
Yeah, exactly. That's the claim. But
you can see. Sorry,
Yeah, they said that they're going to start cracking down on the usual stuff where you can't say anything against Jews or Israel, etc.
2018 to 2020, settlers and IDF attacked schools 10 times a month, every single month. Yet they have a problem with school shootings, unless you're Israeli. If you're Israeli, no, let me run cover for it. But if it's anyone else, it's just anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
This is the crazy thing about the logic. And I keep saying, Salman, it seems like they want to increase anti-Semitism. Based on what Netanyahu's saying in interviews, based on this guy that shouldn't be caught in a computer crime when he's the head of cybersecurity with the pedo case, based on Netanyahu in Israel talking about Greater Israel and then deleting it, based on the fact that he's attacked hospitals over and over and over and over, and this one he said, oopsie, sorry, I made a mistake. Why was this one a mistake and none of the other ones were a mistake? It honestly seems like they're trying to increase anti-Semitism. It really does to me.
And Netanyahu started recognizing genocides on PBD podcast without recognizing.
And now what Suleiman said, with the Israeli flags on schools, you can't put up a cross, but you can put up an Israeli flag.
Yeah, exactly.
In Beverly Hills. What are they trying to do? It honestly feels like a psyop, so everyone hates Jews.
Thank you.
And municipal funds have to buy Israeli bonds. Like this shit.
The Israeli bonds.
That's Florida, right?
Yeah, we talked about that this morning.
Yeah. I'm not too sure if it is that to try and... I know the your guys' position that is to hate Jews, but I just think that they're basically losing the entire narrative at a breaking point. And what happens is when people are at a breaking point, then they hold on control, they become even more extreme or psychopathic. Just think about it when you're about to lose a war. What happens? You do something crazy, you'll do something mad, you'll do anything to hold on to power. I think these moves that are being made, basically flying the Israeli flag, forcing the bonds. Most people, I don't think, would have known about the bonds. So it isn't like a massive, like, oh, it went through the entirety of the media. But again, it was done to help benefit Israel. So I actually think it's just their last grip on power. You saw this shooting. They tried to just take one or two of the messages and make it all about it being anti-Israel, even though, as we've mentioned, it was a Catholic school that got murdered. And let's be clear, Catholics and Jews have never liked each other. They've had the biggest beef compared to any groups, right? So for them to take the shooting of the basically the people they vehemently disagree with and then make it about them just demonstrates that. I don't think it's that personally. I think it's their last hold or grip of power, and they're throwing everything in their power. And it's, for example, you're seeing in the US where it's not working as much. In places like the UK, but guess on the people it's not working, but the people in charge or the media, they continue to control them and they continue to relay the narrative and they continue to put people behind bars, hoping that sooner or later you'll get silence. Because largely speaking, historically, what's always worked is draconian measures, totalitarian measures, control of thought and ideas, and you create the narrative. Now, that's always worked. It no longer works now. So you see that through, for example, the education system. So I made a joke with Sarah earlier about the study in the 1970s, but actually that is true. It's actually factual that in order to perpetuate and promote feminism, those type of studies which showed evolutionary differences between the brains of a male and a female, because they're two different people, these things were banned in universities. So what was it? Was it a psyop because they wanted to, because they wanted people to hate women? No, it wasn't. It was just to control it, and they did manage to control it for 20, 30 years. And so they've been doing that for a very long time, and I just think that they're just using the same playbook and hoping that it works differently. Because really, other than that, what is there? It's hard to like resolve the situation they're in. They want to continue murdering Palestinians. They want to take the whole land. They know they're going to look bad. So in their view, if from the tactical perspective, they're probably thinking, take the heat now because it's bad anyway. We lost the information war. We're not going to look good no matter what. So why not take this opportunity and take control of all of it? And then afterwards we'll deal with the narratives and we'll maybe make Muslims a bad guy again in a more kind of targeted, smart way, or whatever it may be. But let's just do it. So I think that's what's in reality what's happening. And in the meantime, we'll put certain policies in place that are there for when we make that move afterwards. That's what I actually think is happening. But obviously, I know you guys disagree, so do jump in if you disagree. But just before you do,
it's possible. Yeah. It's possible, Suleiman, but I'm surprised. Gary, I know you're into finance, and so is your brother, and he's in Florida, I believe. What's he think about Florida State has to buy unrated bonds with his tax money? Have you spoken to him about that at all? Because, I think that's pretty crazy. I'm surprised Floridians aren't like up in arms.
We talked about that this morning.
I haven't. I didn't. What's he talking about? I'm not sure.
The unrated bonds that Florida's being forced to buy, the Israeli bonds that are unrated.
Yeah. How much is it? I didn't know it. I didn't know. I hadn't heard this.
Dennis, do you know how much it is?
Yeah. So it's there's a lawsuit going on in Palm Beach County, and the CFO for Palm Beach bought $700 million, which is actually less of the $250 million that the state itself has bought. So what happened was
So one guy bought 700 and the state bought 250.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the worst part of all of this is you ask, well, why is the state not up in arms over that? Well, nobody knew. I certainly didn't know about it, and when I watched Jimmy Petronas, who I kind of got into it with him a little bit on another space regarding insurance.
And Dennis, I do want you to continue. That just adds to my point. So if the point made by Joe and Simon was that they wanted Jew hatred, everyone would know about it and everyone would be up in arms. But actually, hardly anybody knows about it. As you said, you know about it. I would say only a handful of people actually know about this. We've talked about it on this space. We talked about it in our finance space. Maybe there's been one or two other shows that have spoken about it. Hardly anybody speaking about it. So it clearly isn't to cause that, but it's clearly to slip something under the carpet without anyone realizing, and just a few people realize. But sorry, Dennis, do continue.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing is that DeSantis, and let me go back to how I found out about it. So Jimmy Patronis took over Matt Gaetz' seat in the House, and in the resignation letter, because Jimmy Patronis had to resign as CFO of Florida, he had mentioned how proud he was on how much money he's put into these Israeli bonds. And so that got me thinking. I didn't know about that, and I'm thinking, why is that so important, and why are you so proud about it? Well, it turns out that they had started in the beginning of DeSantis's tenure to start buying up all of these bonds. Well, what makes it even worse is that in June or July, DeSantis put in legislation to eliminate the requirement of purchasing those bonds at an A rating. So now that they've been downgraded from A to like BAA, it doesn't matter anymore because the legislation still allows the state to purchase these bonds. And I mean, they're approaching junk level at this point, but we can still purchase them. Going back to the Palm Beach lawsuit of the $700 million, there's residents, I believe the residents of Palm Beach that brought the suit are Palestinian or have backgrounds from Palestine. And they're saying, look, this was an ideological purchase. This wasn't based on, a fiduciary responsibility for the county, that this was completely ideological. And when you look at it and you see what was in Patronis's letter and the resignation letter, he was also invited to all of these galas and everything else. He was hard sold on this stuff. And plus, you can't tell me that AIPAC money and all that stuff isn't involved in this. This is a huge scandal. This is a big, big deal. And I think there needs to be more light shown on this, because it's the state. I guarantee you, if a lot more people knew about this, they'd be up in arms and really pissed. So that's what's going on.
But isn't it true that also they're saying that if they don't buy the bonds, that they won't get federal funding, because then they'll be boycotting Israel because they bought them in the past and now they stopped? So therefore they're boycotting them, which is crazy.
Well, I don't think
they were A-rated, and now they're not rated.
Yeah, and I think that would be an excuse to say, well, that's not BDS. We're not going to purchase them because they're below an A rating. But when you go out of your way and you pass legislation, then I think that goes out the window. I don't think that argument holds any water at that point. I mean, I think you're saying, look, that's not a fiduciary responsibility on our part for the state of Florida to purchase anything under A rating. I mean, that's legislation.
Is that the legislation?
Yeah, the legislation in June that was passed gets rid of the A rating requirement.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's insane. And
Yep.
why would you invest in something less than A rating?
Exactly.
And how much funds are they asking for from the state of Florida?
Well, they're at the state is $250 million. So then when you couple that with Palm Beach, it's almost $1 billion.
And you say Palm Beach, is this individuals or the county of?
County of. The $700 million is for the county, yeah.
Yeah, you would expect those guys to take care of them, though, right? I mean, isn't that a big?
Yeah, it was
very, very big.
Yeah, and it was also they just they got unrated, and they weren't allowed to invest in them because of the ratings, and so
right.
Yeah. Anyway, do we want to get back to what the hell is going on with these with this massacre?
Yeah. Simon, you just sent me a tweet, and it's by this chick called Fatima Khan. Now, that's a fake account, because that was exposed as being a fraudulent account. It's not really some woman who's an ex-Muslim. What she's been doing, I believe is run by, I think it's run by an Indian And what they've done is they take images from people on Instagram and then impose this person's face onto it. So first of all, it's a fake individual perpetuating. So another one of these Indian vivid prowess type people. But in addition to that, in terms of that, a church in Wales was set on fire by two Pakistani migrants. This, first of all, this church being set on fire was actually in April 2025. And the claim they were Pakistani was actually made by Alex Jones, because obviously he's part of the I've always said he's part of the Zionist propaganda. I believe he's connected to intelligence. I've always said that. I've said that anything you say about Tucker Carlson, this guy's the same. Um, now, now some people have told me, oh, guess what? It's not that. It's just that they, apparently his son said or indicated that he's been blackmailed or whatever. Whatever the case may be, he cannot be trusted. But he made that claim. That was actually fake news. So that was basically, the church did go on fire on April, and it was actually two teenagers from Wales that did it. It wasn't like some Pakistani migrants. So that was just fake news. But it just shows like people like Alex Jones perpetuating that, and obviously just being regurgitated. That's the first one. Second thing is this, Sarah, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that the manifesto was in Russian. You know the bit where he says, "Oh, filthy Zionist Jews." Uh, was that and free Palestine? Was that in the was that in the Russian?
Yeah, I think it must have been because I didn't see it and I didn't translate the Russian. Let me get you the full manifesto and I'll send you the post. So I read the English one and there was no mention of Palestine or anything in the English one. And also, that's strange because there was no mention of free Palestine anywhere on the guns, and he wrote a lot of sloganeering and symbolism on the guns. There was nothing about Palestine. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's fake. But also in terms of the filth, you know, the New York Post, they've claimed it. That the journal had filthy Zionist Jews. I didn't see that in the English, so I assume that well, first of all, it may not exist because you can never trust the media. But if it does exist, it'll exist in the Russian. But you saying you didn't read it yet at the moment?
I sent it to you. There's a thread of the translation. It's very long.
All right, cool. I'll check that out. Appreciate it. Let me bring some more people up.
But it's just this whole symbolism, like, you know, you can just read whatever you want into this. Like, okay, so now shooting Christians is anti-Semitic. Like, just all of these crazy
Well,
connections.
do you see what they've done? It's Judeo-Christianity. So if it's anti-Christian, then it's anti-American. If it's anti-American, then it's anti-Judeo-Christian. So they're like, it's like a whole entire like self-fulfilling prophecy. It's insane. It's really insane. And even watch the Zionists posting. It's like, well, we are a Judeo-Christian country, so technically it's, you know, it's our tragedy too.
Yeah, it
It's
must
just
be.
bonkers.
It must be those pesky Muslim communist Russians.
Yeah. We have an epidemic of those here. That's why we have special task forces now. Must get rid of the radical Islamic communist Cyrillic writing Russians.
Half Russian, half Chinese.
China has to be involved. They probably have like a mosquito drone implant or something psychotic.
I don't know if you were promoting the ACP there.
Yeah,
Sarah.
White, you're right.
Jokes.
They're definitely
Let me
trying to
bring
kill us,
in,
man.
Stephanie, jump in. What's your thoughts on all this?
Everyone. You know, when you look at it, this kid, I mean, I'm not a mental health expert, but and Sarah, I was listening to your space earlier, which was fascinating because, delving into all the symbolism and all the things that he said in his manifesto, this guy was insane. He pretty much hated everybody. He may have had some particular, hard-ons for, the Christian church or whatever, but when you look at it, he obviously was targeting. Um, I think that his main goal was just to go out and blaze a glory, and he knows, there are trends with these extremist, crazy people. You see, what 20 years ago they would hijack a plane. School shootings are the biggest shock and awe. It's what it pisses people off. It stirs them. It gets a lot of press, and I think that's probably why he chose the way, the method that he did. But as far as like why it was really
Yeah, in the
disturbed,
Donbass region.
there are two things that are so different now that make everything seem more extreme. Yes, people are more extreme, but it's because in my opinion, we're exposed to not just 24/7 news, 24/7 opinions, echo chambers, faces, whatever. It's almost like hyper speed, you know. You have so many different outlets that it's almost like you don't mentally get a break from it unless you know, just totally unplug. And so, number one, we're more aware of
As soon
these
as I
crazy people
talk, the
doing
space starts
things
to
and people that are
degrade,
disturbed and
and
extremists and whatever.
it's
But
so
it
annoying.
also fuels the people who may also have these mental issues to either
I
think
may have
that
to
it's
drop out and go
normal,
back in
or
again with a
think that it
Safari.
also fuels people's anger or their paranoia or whatever. You know, it's almost like information overload. And the truth will set you free is true, but sometimes a lot of truth, it's almost like an overload. I think some people just can't handle it, and it pushes them in different directions. And so it's almost like hyper fixated. That's just one thing about it. But when you look at it, human nature is the one thing that hasn't changed over time. It's just the nature of the way people handle um, that human nature. So there will always be people who are disturbed or people who are good, bad, whatever. And I think now we're just seeing humanity handling things differently according to um, what's going on around us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I zoned out.
Yeah. You know, can I ask a question about his journal? How did we get the content of his journal?
He posted a TikTok video of it and went page by page.
Okay. Because his just journal's very different to the English. It's just a bit strange because, but yeah, he's talking about how he
There,
was
the
impressed
whole
with
thing
Robert
was on
Bowers,
YouTube until
who
it
did
got taken
shoot
down,
a synagogue as well.
and then I think
And he
went
says
on.
that what impressed him about him was the fact that his kill rate was so high, and he was like, "Oh, I mean, I hope to kill at least 16 if
This
possible."
is really weird because he only mentions Bowers or a reference to Bowers one time on the guns. He
Yeah,
actually
I'm gonna have to.
much more so talks about Christ Church, which was the massacre of
I'm gonna
Muslims.
have to
He
drop out
also
and go
has
back in.
homages to Dylan Roof, which was another massacre of Christians. They were Baptist, I believe. It was South Carolina Baptist Church, I believe. But that's very interesting. Keep pointing out those discrepancies because this is interesting that this is coming out after, and this is completely in Cyrillic. Cyrillic is an incredibly hard language to learn to write. This is very weird.
That
And
is
also, he
very weird.
mentions Breivik as well, isn't it? Who is very much hates Muslims. When he did his shooting, he said it's because he wants people to be aware of
That guy is
his.
on his guns more than anybody else. There's hearts next to his name. You'll see it in my thread.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen it. I think I did a post on Breivik myself, but yeah, I did see it on your thread as well. But in terms of this, in the Cyrillic, he does mention Gaza actually. So it is very different to the guns. Like, why would you have nothing on the guns about Palestine and Gaza, but then this has it in there? But in this, he talks about how, um, you know, the government's responsible for the killing of Palestinian kids in Gaza, of kids in Gaza. He says. Um, so yeah, strange. Ray, jump in. What's your thoughts on all this? While I
Yeah, and then somebody I think had.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Sulaiman. Wonderful space, and just let me say, I love
It was on Twitter
the
too,
topic
but I
that
think
Gary
that may have gotten taken down as
philosophical
well.
topic about the correlation between money and happiness that he brought in. So I always love your spaces, man. But let me tell you, the first thing that strikes me, honestly, is that now we have a person that committed a heinous act, and we know what that act is. And then we have scribbles and writings on his gun and a manifesto. And I find it, I don't know if it's the result of how the mainstream media is twisting
I don't.
things, because if I want to understand that guy's motivation and philosophy to establish what kind of bias or hate or bigotry he had, I need to unpack the act first.
He didn't have. He did. When I listened to him talk, it sounded like he went in and out with an accent, but he was also crazy. But he had this Russian written all over the guns and everything, and he had a lot of weird stuff written all over the guns. It was really, really strange. Yeah, and it's possible that he was on, anti-depression medicine because he kept saying how depressed he was, and he basically on his manifesto said that, I don't care what happens, I'm out, and my family just has to deal with it. It was just nuts.
I'm not. I've been trying to look for the evidence because I know people have said he's Jewish, but I couldn't find any evidence.
Yeah.
You can tell me.
Okay. Yes, I will. And then that he's trans. I think trans and mental illness, there is a high correlation of that. So I would say, assume, without being transphobic, he's got mental illness. And but what really like drove me almost to laughter is that Jacobi guy, that Zionist Israeli. It's like so children are the age group that got attacked. Christians also, and it happened inside a church. And then suddenly I find some Israeli Zionist Jew who's an adult, different category, Jewish, also completely different category. And I'm sure he doesn't hang around inside churches feeling scared for his life to a certain extent that he had to go on social media to tell us
Okay, I'm going to
something
drop
he's
out
not
of this and
saying.
go back in.
I just, it just blew my mind. I mean, the level of I don't understand how they pull these things off, and also what Ian mentioned about using the whole.
I can't I can't listen to that scratchiness anymore. I apologize, everybody. So just bear with me, everybody. Yeah. Who brought that up? Somebody brought that up earlier. Well, Looks like yeah. Sorry, guys. I got this all screwed up, so that I couldn't keep it on Brave because it degrades, and now I can't get Safari back working here. So if you want to stick around, great. If not, I understand if you want to go. This is the fun of live streaming. I'm going to keep trying to get this working, but this unfortunately is not a friendly deal. Whoa. Well, the cops noticed. Guess I'm assuming you cannot hear that tab, right? Test. Um,
guns if you're trying to be offended. There's flavors for everyone.
This guy's like an X feed. Like he's literally got
Yes.
everything.
It's like a 4chan messaging board.
What, you saying it's Ian Malcolm's feed?
Yeah, no, I
Jokes,
think
jokes, jokes, jokes,
I don't
jokes.
Ian's
even think
algorithm looks
Ian's
very
feed
different.
is that dark. This is like deep fried
Is
memes.
mine dark? No, I'll try to.
Jokes, no,
Love
it's
and
nowhere near.
light, love
Post.
and
I'll
Nowhere
light.
post the
near yours, Ian.
Macarena.
It's nowhere near yours.
He didn't
I'll
say
post the
anything about
Macarena
blondes
and
either.
I'll label it the dancing Israelis and I'll put the Macarena because I got to keep with the theme, you know.
He didn't say anything about blondes either, so I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, what he didn't. So on his gun, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because Diddy, you've gone through it, right? But on his guns or his weaponry, it doesn't seem like he said anything anti-Christian. But then he murdered.
There's
Like he didn't.
upside down crosses, and then like, who is your god?
Oh yeah, and there was actually Jesus as well, wasn't it? There was a. Actually, just remember now.
Yes,
There was a.
he had a Jesus that he was kind of using for target practice.
Yeah, he was, and then he obviously shot up like Catholics and Christians' children, which is probably the worst thing you could do compared to anything you write on a gun. But yeah, you're right. He just basically attacked anyone and everyone, really, didn't he? Which just shows his mental ill nature. And so therefore the real question is, why was this guy not given help? So in reality, I guess this comes down to this conversation. Like, if somebody wants to trans into a different
Hey,
sex,
can I
yeah,
break in 1 second if you don't mind? Uh,
of course, go ahead, Gary.
I think the question I'm sitting here because I don't know much about this story, but when the gun things come up, I actually own a lot of guns, and I don't have very many guns that have special Russian. And I mean, I have a lot of guns. I don't have emblems, and be interesting to know from the gun community, is that normal? Uh, but
Gary, for what it's worth, these were like written on, if I'm not
okay,
mistaken, with
they
like
were
a Sharpie
messages,
or
huh?
something similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So, well, that's
What
Hey,
you
to be fair, Sarah actually made like a thread that has like all the insignia that was on these like weapons, and one of them literally says something about how he was like, "Where is your God now?"
yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
so
So,
so the idea that he wasn't like anti-Christian, like there was a lot of rage about Christianity, like if you actually look through it.
yeah,
what
where I was going though was as I listened to the story, are you saying that his mother, who this guy sounds completely insane, his mother was a teacher at the school,
No, retired,
secretary,
a
retired.
retired teacher from
yeah,
that same school?
retired secretary, I believe.
Okay, secretary. Cool, interesting.
In the Catholic school, yeah. And I believe that there was another image I saw where she's got a cross on and she's praying or something. I remember seeing that earlier on as well, but I didn't just get a chance to tweet out because I was a bit busy. But yeah, there was his mother was obviously that. But then obviously the document that everyone's put out there is in 2020, I believe. There was a document where the parents signed off on the change of name, and basically this individual saying that they wanted to identify as a female. Now the question becomes, what stage did this individual go past to be able to identify as a female, and
But
therefore,
you can't. Sorry,
sorry,
you just can't.
you can't what?
You can't become a female. So that's why
Obviously,
they
we know.
become crazy and kill everyone
Well,
when they
well,
realize
this
the
is
truth.
Well, I mean, chicks, you know.
well. If you ask feminists, they'll agree with you. I mean, they'll say, "Listen, these guys can't become female. They're still guys, so we need to
It's
hate
not
them." So,
feminist. Just any rational human being will tell you
Exactly.
you can't become
Yes.
six-fingered just because some doctor like created a finger next to your
no, no. So
other
I didn't.
thumb.
So I didn't say it was feminist. So let me explain my point. So of course, like with transgender, changing sex is obviously, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's possible. That being said, if you look at feminists, what they specifically target is men who transition into women and not the other way around. So for
No, there's
them,
actually different types of feminists, so you have to like specify.
well, I'm talking about largely the feminist movement. If you look at largely the feminist movement,
Which ones?
especially, well, what do you mean by which ones?
Are you talking about second wave or
So,
like the rad
so can
fans, or are you talking about the
so
crazy
which?
ones who
Okay,
think
so which?
that like
Explain
trannies
to me.
are women
Okay,
too?
okay. Listen, I've read the books on feminism. Explain to me who's the leader of the second wave feminism right now.
second wave feminists are like a
I
lot
know. I know. A
older.
second.
Like a lot of them are like in their 50s. I would say J.K. Rowling, like my PFP.
J.K. Rowling. So okay.
Yeah, that's like
So
second wave
so
feminist.
J.K. Rowling's a great example of someone who is a feminist who specifically only attacks men who transition into women, but not the other way around. As an
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
Yeah. So she's a prime example of that. So now
Yeah,
give me an
because
example
she's
of.
a feminist. She's not gonna attack
I
women who are
thought
lost
second
in
wave
themselves.
feminists were cool with trannies.
No, they weren't.
So
I
which
thought
wave?
third wave wasn't.
Well, one
No,
thing
it's
is common
second
is
wave.
that
Second wave was
women
never
women
cool with
don't
anyone.
like competition. You see the trend here, right? They're cool with
Neither
the.
do gays.
Well, there you go.
Can we all just watch the Chappelle skit where he talks about the L's, the G's, the B's, and the T's, and the carpool? Because I think that's a more interesting rendition,
Oh, I
frankly.
love that
Agreed.
one. The T's are scary.
If I'm not mistaken, the parents signed off on his name change. I believe he was 13. I don't quote me on that, but that just shows that they had maybe supported him or helped push him from an early age, when you're at the height of your hormones, which, may have had something to do with it.
Wait, what did you say?
Believe I saw a court document um, where he was like 13 years old when the parents signed off and
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
name change. And so it was pretty young that yeah, I think the parents obviously maybe had some ideology,
They're
issues too.
supposed to be Catholic parents, by the way. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy? They like
kind of
signed
twisted.
off
Yeah,
for their tranny son, these Catholics.
kind of twisted.
Yeah, what's also messed up about this stuff? There's going to be a lot of people that are just going to be too scared now to send their children to like these schools and churches and stuff. Like whatever the impact of that is. Like now there is a symbolism of going to church is a dangerous thing. Like it's just so much.
Now, really, like how many shootings have the Americans had? Now they're scared.
Yeah, well, I like it's
I don't
normalized now,
cap
right?
on that.
Has there been one like this though, or is this like an
Like what, he
anomaly?
killed 2 kids? Like you're telling me all the other ones where they killed like 70 people, those ones weren't impactful, but this one it was?
No, just is in the symbolism with church and stuff. Has there been one of those?
Not like
Yeah.
this. He was like shooting through the window,
They
like
they
pepper
they
shots at
they,
the kids.
they
Yeah.
go wherever it's safe, Simon. Okay, that's the deal. They go wherever it's safe. They don't violate places that are carrying weapons.
That's exactly right.
That's they're literally targeting it. So it's very interesting. It comes out right now. Also, that who was it? Was it Snoop Dogg? This weekend came out and said, "Dude, I can't even bring my grandchildren to Superman without them pushing the fucking trans thing." This is such a small population of people. Look, do what you want.
He's
I
part
don't
of the
really
problem,
care
always been.
until it impacts society. And when it's such a small population, why are we spending so much time talking about these people?
Because
Like,
they're
do
out here
whatever.
killing people.
No, well, no, come on. They are not. One crazy fuck that you've
No, there's been
identified
like
is his
12,
core
there's
problem.
been
His
12
core problem is
shootings
not that he's a
by
trans.
trannies
Okay, but that's the deal they're
in the
pushing.
past few
Okay,
years. 12 mass shooters were trannies.
okay, okay.
You
Well,
don't want to ask why.
no, but that's a symptom. That is
That's
a
like when
symptom. You're
all the
chasing
serial
symptoms,
killers
dude.
happen to be on
Wait, hang on,
SSRIs.
Chai. Is that number accurate? And I ask only because there were only
No, I'm
3
just
between
saying, like,
2019 and
I don't know
2023. So
100%,
that
but
would
I've
mean that
heard
there were
there's over a
6 or
dozen.
9, if I'm not mistaken. Because you said there were 12, right, over the last 10
I saw
years.
12, but I haven't researched it
I saw
extensively.
that chart too, and it actually rang true because I looked back and I was like, oh God, I forgot
Yeah,
about
but
that
look,
one.
you can't, guys. You can't pull one little thing out. Like, I'll bet you that they
How's it
were
a
all
little
on anti.
thing?
Can I just finish, or do
Yeah.
you already know what I'm going to say, ma'am?
Yeah,
Okay,
this bitch
let's
needs
do a
to go.
correlation of how many psychiatric drugs these guys were taking, how many
Then
psychiatric
she goes with
drugs
the
their parents were
crying,
fucking
laughing
taking. That's when
emojis.
you told me, oh wow, she was working at the school. It's like, wow, that's weird. He hates her. Okay, he's ashamed of her. Like, that's such a fucking aggressive overt aggression against your mother and everything she stands for. So, like, I can't just make it about whatever you're calling this, people being twisted to go into, like, I don't know, but the kid was clearly fucked up. But it can't just be one thing. Bet
Yeah,
you he
no,
was
I
on
agree.
drugs. Bet you fucking 10 Bitcoin.
That's
There's
what it
only
is.
like
They're-
3 that I can find transgender shooters and 1 non-binary.
No,
Yeah,
They
no,
were
and I
all
thought
on
the
it's
12, I
not
thought
SSRIs.
the
even
12
about
was very high.
transgenderism. It's about the drugs they put these people on. Like he was saying, like a lot of times they're on SSRIs. They have so many
Dude,
issues.
it's going to start with SSRIs, not hormone treatment. That's
Yeah,
what they're
but
going to
it's
do. They're
part
going to
of the
send them to a
problem.
shrink. Yeah, but it's not it's the hormone thing. Look, let's just
Look,
not
it's
chase
almost
rabbits,
like
though.
Look, it's almost like if somebody comes into the room and just shoots it up, and then you're like, well, they had blue hair, and then they were like on all these meds, and like it seemed you'd be like, it's not about the fact that they had blue hair, but it's a symptom that there's something going on with them.
They all were on SSRIs, if I'm not mistaken. That is true. And that was kind of my point that, yeah, they might be trans, but the
Trannies
bigger,
and non-trans were all on the same drug cocktails as
exactly,
SSD.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so basically what you're all saying, but I've just checked. There's been, is it 1, 2, 3, 4? This is the 5th shooting over the last since 2018. So over the last 7 years by trannies. So 12. I'm not sure where that figure came from. But I guess what you're
The
all arguing, unless somebody,
conspiracies,
sorry,
the conspiracists found them.
I never believe them because they've got charts for everything, and then when you look at the data, it's always fake about everything. They used to say that about Muslims. Then and when I looked into it, it was all fake. But when I'm looking into this, I'm sorry, when I'm listening to all of you speak, it seems like what you're all agreeing on is that it's not, and I kind of slightly disagree, so I'm gonna hear your thoughts. It seems like you're all agreeing that actually it's not the aspect of being transgender that's causing this mass shooting, but it's actually being on drugs.
No, I think it's a mental health crisis where some people are already suffering from mental health issues, and then they get taken advantage of by these groups that have different agendas. So sometimes they might fall into like a weird cult. Sometimes they fall into the cult of the LGBT. Like these things are just signs of people who are
What's a
suffering
cult?
from mental health concerns.
What's a cult?
Like there's weird cults that are like into Satanism or like pedophilia, whatever. Like they have names. I don't know all their names, but like this is a big issue. Like online chat groups have so many of these groups. Like going in there and trying to target young people who are like a little shy and depressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what the reason I was asking for cult was because like what one calls cult is just ideology, isn't it? People have different ideologies. Some of them are harmful, some of them are fine, some of them we agree with, some of them we disagree with. But yeah, I mean anyone who doesn't like anyone calls them a cult. But that being said, yeah, I do think that the aim is always to prey on vulnerable people, whomever the the ideologue is, and that's why when you look at the kind of control of education or the control of schools and universities, that's why it becomes an important component. Because if you can control what they think and what they believe, you can definitely control it. Now, people from the LGBTQ community specifically, obviously, you know my position. My position is that I do think that there is some mental health issues, irrespective of the drugs going on. And therefore, what happens is they do need the support and help. And when they don't get the support and help, that's when certain issues happen. So what the reason I was raising this question earlier was when you look at the form, the question becomes at what point was that form? If that was just a basic name of change of name form, then that's a different thing. But if it wasn't, and it was something else, like maybe did she speak, spoken to a doctor, and maybe the doctor had gone through a certain process, then there needs to be some kind of conversations happening about what happened in that regard. So I think it is an important discussion to have because I do think that children are definitely vulnerable and people do take advantage of them significantly. In the UK, as an example, Pace Morgan was instrumental in making sure that LGBTQ education became something that's taught in schools. And we know children's brains aren't developed enough to be able to decipher. Like later, when you're adult, even though I disagree with it from a religious
Pierce
perspective, if
Morgan.
somebody wants to make a decision on And again, there's like these ethical
Horrible
aspects of
person.
maybe can people make that decision is a separate point. But obviously, we live in a quite a liberal society, so it's their decision anyway. But that being said, if it was a religious society, it would not be permissible. But there is a huge amount of question marks on that issue. But let me bring in a few more people because there is a couple of more points I want to make. Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate it. And to this comment, I'm just on the SSRI piece, and I went to Grok because I wanted to get a number that I felt like I could rely on, and everybody else in the room could go and look up if they don't believe the statistic I'm about to give, because it's pretty wild. But according to Grok, there's roughly 150 million prescriptions for SSRIs in the United States alone. Now, if we think of what that means in terms of population, it's almost a prescription for every two, or roughly 2.1 or so Americans, 2.2. And the reason that I bring that up is because, I mean, I always talk about the thought that we live essentially in an Orwellian construct where we're continuously gaslit and propagandized and all these things. But what's not talked about as much is the use of, or at least in my opinion, the drugs to counterbalance the natural reaction that people have to the endless gaslighting that we're all basically subject to. And I think that the SSRIs are one of the major pieces of that puzzle. They're basically used as a coping mechanism, and it's because we are all living in essentially a toxic environment. And whether we point to the media or technology or the idea that we're all indoors or that we're isolated, I mean, we could dissect this a million different ways, but depression is skyrocketing, suicide is skyrocketing, alcohol is skyrocketing. And the medical community just wants to say, oh, take this drug because it's a you problem. And I think that's just patently wrong. It's that what we are living in is a problem for humanity. And I mean, I can have a different, I guess, solution to this maybe than others, but it clearly seems like the more centralized individuals get, the more they're forced into big cities, the more they're forced to sit at a desk, the more they're forced into isolation, the more they're given endless dopamine, whether it's Netflix or YouTube or any of these other technological mechanisms, the more pornography they're subjected to, etc. It's making people miserable. And at some point, we have to come to a recognition that this is not a minor thing. This is going to create monumental problems. I think some of the violence that we see, that's an outburst of that. And again, not suggesting that this individual wasn't a plant or wasn't some kind of false flag or any number of other things, but there's a whole lot of people that are suffering right now. And I think humanity at large needs to recognize that some of the foundational pieces that we all have as our lived experience, they have to change. We got to figure out something different, because right now, so much of the world is merely told, oh, go make money and then you'll be happy. And as we were fortunate enough to hear before, Gary's sitting there with a beautiful, I don't know if it's a whiskey or a cigar or a beautiful vista in a beautiful home. He's got all the things that you could theoretically need if materialism could actually provide happiness to anybody. And the truth of the matter is that if you're living in an awful world and everybody's miserable, it doesn't matter what watch you have
You
on
still
your
there,
wrist.
Kazan?
And so I really do
I saw
think
that you
that we need, as a society, to start to maybe look
chatted
to the
on
past
Odyssey.
if we want to make a better future, and recognize that the present, it's all filled with clutter, with dysgenic recommendations, whether that's from pop culture, and with all sorts of illnesses that are given to us as coping mechanisms because everything is so screwed up, whether it's marijuana or alcohol or the SSRIs. And so just wanted to throw that in, because while there's probably not 1 out of every 2 Americans on these things, it's probably 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5. And the others, I can guarantee you, are either using tons of alcohol, tons of drugs, or other things merely just to deal with the suffering that I think everybody is subject to because of all the insanity that we find ourselves in.
Ian,
Yeah,
why do you think these shootings seem to be unique to America?
well, I think people are so my view on that is people are violent irrespective of where it is. So in the UK, we don't have guns, so that's replaced by knife crime. So if you look at UK, we've got a knife pandemic where people are getting stabbed in such huge disproportionate numbers. It's unbelievable. They don't have that issue in the US because it's replaced by guns. But I guess, Simon, you're asking an important question, and I think this issue does bring forth a number of points about guns, about gun control, about LGBTQ, about mental health, and even about feminism. I know me and Chai had a bit of a back and forth about second wave, third wave, fourth wave feminism. But the point here is, it's not about the wave of feminism. It's the idea or the impact it has. So you take an average male conservative, he's not going to be a feminist. He's not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm a second wave feminist or I'm a first wave feminist because I was part of the suffragettes or whatever it may be. But what it does is that the impact of it is huge. And so the reason I say that is when you look at transgender, if one really has an issue with transgender, the overwhelming majority of transgender when it's under 16s are women, are girls. For over 16s, it's women, but for under 16s, it's overwhelming. I did a thread in 2023, 2 years ago, and at that time, the data was 5 to 1. So for every 5 women, there was only one male. And at that time, when I used to ask people, oh, guess what? Because I know that what social media did and what media did was they made it look like it was a male thing, and so they'd always attack the male who transitioned into the female. And the reason with that for that was is because of feminism. When I say feminism, I mean the impact of feminism. So when men look at it, they're about, oh, it's about female rights. But if you look at transgender as a whole, it's largely female. And we know that from a biological perspective because women tend to be more amiable to positions, more, they tend to follow in a lot more positions. And so, and it's why, for example, in Islam, we have these certain positions based on that. But that being said, so the reason I'm saying that is because when you look at the, and what I mean by that is, for example, marrying. So marriage, you can marry a woman, you can marry someone, a Muslim can marry someone from any other religion, a male, but the female can't the other way around because the person, women tend to take the religion of the husband. And generally the data shows most conversions happen by women. But coming back to the point, specifically what I'm talking about in this regard, um, if you look at the massive conversation that occurs, it's always about the male who transitions into female, but not the other way around. And that's actually largely the big overwhelming majority. It was 5 to 1 then. It's probably 8 or 9 to 1 now.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
What is it?
Okay, so most young women, when they go through puberty, it's an extremely uncomfortable experience for them because first of all, they start getting like regular pain once a month. It's really uncomfortable for men. I'm not saying it's not uncomfortable for men, but it's like the idea that they could be like, "Hey, here's a button, you can just stop this." There was a mass hysteria where so many young girls were told, hey, you can actually avoid all of this pain by doing XYZ. And then obviously they told their friends, and it's called it's basically like the whole COVID thing. So women are very trusting of each other, and so that's why there's going to be way more women who jump on the board
I
because
don't get
they
you.
don't.
Explain that. Explain that
No,
point.
no, no, because you said there was a very large amount of young
No, no. What
women.
do you mean about this COVID? No. So what are they taking? Are you trying? I'm not
Hold
understanding your
on,
point.
can I? Yeah.
No, I'm
Okay,
trying to
so
understand your point. I'm not disagreeing with you.
yeah, I'll explain. Okay, so
Okay, explain.
you're saying there, like when you looked at the graphs or whatever, a lot of the young women who transition were under the age of 16. This is because a lot of the young women who go through puberty are under the age of 16. So that's when they go through like one of the hardest things that women go through. Okay, and then there's a lot of
So,
angst.
so I'm just
There's
trying to
a lot
understand your
of
point. I'm trying to
there's
understand
a
your point.
hold
But
on.
just no,
There's
but
a
I'm just
lot
trying to
of
understand your point because there's no point you talking
yeah.
it.
I'm trying to
You've,
explain the point, and
but you've said it
you're
twice
not
now, and I
listening.
still don't. But
You're
no,
not
I'm listening.
listening.
I'm
Women
not.
go
my
through a
God.
really hard
Okay.
puberty, so when they're told you can just shut it down, they're more likely to take
They
it.
want attention,
That's why there's
Take
so
what?
many. And on top of
like this
that,
woman
Take
wants.
what?
women are more likely to be
Puberty
followers
Ma'am,
and be
blockers.
ma'am,
I give up.
I
Puberty
gotta
influenced.
say,
blockers.
ma'am, no one knows what you're
Hormone.
talking about.
I know.
No, because
It's
he was
fine.
saying that there's more data that
Just
shows
what are you
women are
talking
more
about,
likely to
though?
be trans. The
It's fine.
reason
It's
for
fine.
that is because
We'll just
women
let her
are
finish the
more
point.
easily influenced, and young women are more likely to take a pill if they're told, "Hey, this is going to stop all of your problems and the negative feelings you're feeling." That's
Cool.
what happened.
Cool. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'll just leave it there because I wanted to have this conversation, but we
Because
just
you're
leave it
not
because
informed.
Hey, just to be
I'm actually
clear,
informed.
the person
You've just
that
had the
did,
inability to
yeah,
explain things. You've tried to explain it 4 times,
Yeah,
and
you're
when
not
someone's
you're
trying
not
to
really
ask
like
you,
articulating.
yeah, you
No, I'm
articulate.
not
See,
trying
even
to
your
be
mates saying you're
mean,
not
Sully,
articulating
but
very
like
badly. So
this
why
is
not just
not
saying
a women versus men issue.
You're just
it's
an
not? But
asshole.
even your friends saying that you're articulating very badly. So rather than take it personally, why not think, you know what, maybe everyone's right, and let me just
Okay,
explain the point
fine.
in a bit of a
Okay.
different way rather than getting emotional.
Okay,
But
I'll try to explain it
no, but
differently
I've
next time.
understood your point. I don't disagree with it. So I think what you're trying to say is, and I agree with this, and I think that's not the only reason. There's multiple factors. what you're trying to say is biologically, women are different. They go through puberty earlier than men, and therefore there's going to be a number of factors that impact that cause them to transition. I don't disagree with that. That's my position. Biologically, women are different. Mentally, women are different. Women are completely different to men. So of course, the impact what's going to happen to women is going to be significant. So when I say women are easily are more amiable, that's because biologically they're different. When you
Yeah, and
talk
I
about
agree with that.
Yeah,
yeah, I
Bethany,
agree with
that's a
your
good
point. So I think we're
question.
saying the same thing. I agree that there's a number
It's half
of
all their kids
factors
are.
of why it's impacting women more, but it definitely is. And so what I'm trying to say is most people don't realize that. So the vast majority of people who are being impacted by this, people aren't speaking about it. That's the point I'm trying to make, and people are
You
focusing
know,
on the minority
maybe
of the minority.
maybe what we're discovering from this is because I don't think this guy was a girl, and I don't think I remember a mass shooting by a female transitioning. So
The
perhaps
other
all.
Christian
Yeah,
school,
there
Excuse me,
was.
can
Yeah,
I
there was.
finish,
the other
please?
Christian school was a female transitioning.
Okay, so one girl was transitioning. Wow, this is a very interesting topic. Everybody gets uh,
Yeah,
very
women are
upset about this.
pissed.
The stats, women are pissed, huh? Yeah, it's my
Yeah,
fault.
because
I
the
guess it's
men who
my fault.
transition are older and they're predatory and they've been coming around punching us and crushing our skulls. You don't think we're supposed to be angry about this shit?
I think you're just angry at everything.
I'm not angry, to be honest. Nice person.
Doesn't sound like it to me.
He gets very emotional about the trans thing.
So,
Adaba,
Suleiman, what I
That's
would
her
add is that
trigger.
Adaba,
That's her
there's
trigger
lots
issue.
Chai,
there's lots of
do you
No
know
there's
idea.
Ian?
I have
Do
no
you know
idea why
Ian
we
Miles?
spend so much time on this
That
issue
fat
because it
fucking
is not the
Korean.
core issue.
Yeah,
He's
he has.
Malaysian. Be nice.
oh my God, he's not Malaysian, Sarah. He's Chinese. Don't try it. Don't try it back your Chinese peeps up.
I thought
But
he
he
was
had.
Malay.
But Chai, he
He's a
has a hard
He's
on
a
for
Chinese
trans as
man.
well.
He's a
Yeah,
Chinese
I'm
man who
not
lives in
shocked.
Malaysia and
I'm
now he
not
lives in Dubai.
shocked. He's a disgusting, degenerate Zayo. Yeah, obviously he has a hard on for trannies.
What kind of hard on are we talking about? Like,
Okay, guys. Let's. This is a PG. A lot of young kids listen to my spaces the next day. Let's keep it above and on board. Let's bring it because I do. I like. We're looking at the data. And I think like
I'm
thirty
blushing,
percent.
man.
30% of people watch and listen to Space back afterwards in the morning. So sorry, Gary, what were you gonna say?
I'm blushing after that last comment.
Yeah. I'm feeling really awkward. Like I'm just a very simple guy. I've never heard these words before, so it's
Yeah,
really
Well,
right.
these
you're
chicks.
extremely sensitive, so just to make the
It is. It
audience
is.
aware.
I'm very sensitive to this stuff. Like I'm just too disciplined.
Look, the
Uh,
reason that there's such a minority of men is because most men live their life like Bruce Jenner and have
Nobody
six
wants to be a
children.
woman if they don't have
Yeah,
to be.
and
That's the
then
truth.
and become extreme athletes and win so many awards as males, and then they develop fetishes because they watch so much pornography. And then when the women say, "Hey, this is not a true woman," when they come out of the closet and say, "Oh, I actually just woke up last night and realized that I'm a woman," everybody goes, "Well, why is there so many young women who are actually transitioning?" It's because the reason is not the same, right? One group is being like psyoped and like abused. And the other group is just a bunch of creepy people who just want to take advantage of women. Those
yeah,
are the two
that's
groups.
yeah, that's why I disagree. This is like man hatred. I think both people have been taken advantage of. Both people have significant mental health issues and need health support for. But yeah, this is my argument against this kind of feminist thing. Where really, whenever you find it, I'm glad Chai's speaking because it goes back to my point. This whole thing isn't really even about transgender. In the end, it becomes about man hatred because men are creepy. So when men are transgender, because
It's
they're
not about
creepy,
man
they want
hatred.
to
Calm
rape, they want to
down.
harm women. But women, oh, they're so confused and so soft. So when they do it,
You
they're
don't
the
even
victim. But
you
men are
don't think a
this is what society's done, and this
you
is
don't think a
why
father of six turning woman of the year is a concern? Okay.
I think both sides are concerned. But you're trying to say only the man's are concerned. That's where I disagree with you. And this is because it's based on man hatred. And if this man hatred is the reason why there's so much problems in society, in my view, because
Why would
men
you
have been.
hate men?
You clearly do, based on what you're saying. You're literally saying when you have a man and a woman transition, the reason the man does it is because he's creepy, he wants to rape, he wants to harm, he
Yeah,
wants to do.
because they're
But when a
older and
woman
are
does
grown
it, she's a
adults.
soft little gentle flower who's just a little bit
Yeah,
confused.
because they're like
But
15 and 13 and they're having their breast chopped
no, they're
off.
not. So basically, when women transition, they
They're
transition
not
all the.
even women, they're girls, young
Yeah.
children.
So boys are also transitioning. So it's young
Not
boys.
really.
No, that's what happens. So the data shows when it's above 16, it's quite equal in the transitioning. When it's under 16, and the reason for that isn't because it's not happening, is
You
because
just said it was a 5-1. It's an
I
assault
did. But
on
the reason,
women.
no, but I'm explaining to you, the reason is because right now, in recent times, the push for transgender has been significant. It's only in 2020 it became law in Europe that it was going to be taught legally in schools. It didn't happen in the 80s or 90s. That's why people are under 16s are impacted a lot more. It's only recently, in the last 5-10 years, when you've been pushing these ideas in Netflix, and therefore more amiable people are being controlled by it. So I don't agree that a young boy, just because because he's a creepy guy, he's transitioning, and I don't agree that even
A
when it's
young
adults,
boy's not a creepy guy, it's a child.
a creepy child, or even if it's an
No,
adult.
I never said that.
No, but even if it's an adult who's transitioning, if it's a man or a woman, at the
So
adult.
so Bruce Jenner is not a creep. Okay.
So for example, what's that name of that girl
Beacon
who?
of conservatives.
What's the woman's name who transitioned? The famous actor, I forgot her name now.
Ellen Page.
Ellen Page. Is she a creep?
Yeah, yeah. No, like they literally
Oh, she's
chopped
not.
her up.
No, she's a creep. That's the
Exactly,
whole
and that's
thing
my
is
Yeah,
point.
fine.
and now she looks so sad, and she's like, "I'm so happy," and she's like crying.
But is she a creep?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
she
total
is.
creep
Okay, so then you agree.
pervert.
So your position isn't about men and women. It's just you've articulated incorrectly
Yeah,
again.
my
You,
position is about the interventions.
no. Because what you said is when men do it and women do it, one's a creep, one's a not. But now what you're saying is,
I never
if it's
said
over,
that.
but people can
I
listen back to the space and they
The
can hear
women
what
no,
you
look.
meant.
transitioning is almost creepier. They cut off half their forearm. Like the whole thing is just.
They cut,
Yeah,
they cut off their
it's
breasts.
so Frankensteinish.
Exactly. So if your argument was, which then I would be more
No,
amiable
my
to,
argument was like when you're saying the 5-1, why is there more girls under 16? I was just trying to explain why there's more girls under
no, I
16.
agreed with that. But then afterwards you said,
That's it.
no, but listen, Chai, you need to just listen. So afterwards, what you said was, oh, when men do it, because they're
It's
doing it for a
not a
creepy reason.
gotcha. Like, I don't get
It's
what
not a
your
gotcha.
goal
It's
is.
not a gotcha. I'm trying to help you out to strengthen your
There's no
argument.
helping me out. Just move on.
Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna help for the audience.
It's
To help the
it's
audience out
Just
and
lost
help you out. I know
12%
there's
of
no
your
helping you.
audience.
Yeah, let me try and help her and the audience. And if she doesn't want help, she can just whatever. But the point, I think, what would be a better point of her argument is that, and I don't agree with this, but her better position of her argument would be if they're under 16, irrespective of they're boy or girls, then there are people who've been taken advantage of, and therefore there's other factors that need to be considered. But if they're over 16 or they're an adult, then she would call them creepy. Then I'd say, okay, that's fine. That's not based on man hatred. But when you separate based on gender, then I said there's man hatred. Now let's move on.
It's
Let's
not
bring,
over 16, over 22 at least.
okay, I don't know
And
where you got
for
the
what
number
for what
from.
it's worth, silly.
Because the brain's not developed till you're 25. But anyway, let's just move on. Let's go to Trillion. Trillion, jump in and bring some sanity back to the conversation. I got way too many chicks up here, and it is
Let's.
harming me. Go ahead.
It's harming all of us. Let's get some of that audience back. I have a couple important points, I think. So, first off, if you read the actual manifesto, this person was convinced they were dying of lung cancer, and you can see them vaping in the same. So they show that vape. I don't know. There might be some kind of. I would just say maybe there's some kind of crazy chemicals in that thing. Stay away from vapes. But more to the point. Look, there's this real problem with fandoms. Like serial killers, school shooters, they have a fandom. And if you look at all the markings on there, there are no less than, I believe, 4 different mass shooters written on the weapons, which, by the way, all look brand new, like they've never been used before, by the way. So there's a reference to Brenton
Yeah,
Tarrant.
Trillion, just to add to you, and I want you to continue. I believe in the journal that Didi sent me, the guy's still translating, but in there he actually, I think he logs a kind of diary, and in one of the days he says, I went in to buy the weapons and they said no to me, so I'm going to try again, or something along those lines, but do continue.
I believe somebody got them those weapons. This is somebody who frequents these chat rooms. They all kind of empower each other. They think it's kind of like a cult. Like they are like somebody could be a fan of like Disney movies. They're a fan of mass shooters. So there's a reference to Brenton Tarrant, which is an Australian Christchurch mosque shooting in New Zealand from 2019, killed 51 people. Timothy McVeigh, we all know Timothy McVeigh. Sol Pace is on there, which is an 18-year-old American student. For some reason, that one particularly has a large fandom. But anyway, so that's another one. And they wrote Kashmar on the guns over and over, which means nightmare, which is a shooter from the 1991, 1993, in Russia, which is now known as Belarus. This guy would like he killed a bunch of children, basically, like luring them in with like video games and all of that. And so what they're doing is that they're designing memorabilia. They're trying to like commemorate their stuff. Like, so they hope that like somebody can buy it and it's this big thing. So like we're gonna look into all their little symbols and all of that. But what they're really doing is they're just making a skin like a collectible. Like I don't know how much this even necessarily has to do with the gender confusion. I'm sure they getting put on some kind of drugs, but what it causes is it doesn't matter which way you're going. What it causes is a dissociation from your family unit, from your friends, from reality, from your church, whatever cohesive social elements you have around you. And then they find these forums, and in these forums there are people in there who actually motivate them to go and carry out their actions. They
Yep.
think of this as something cool.
Yeah.
Now, this is a huge problem, and everybody knows about it. It's on telegrams, it's a well documented, it's on 8chan, it's everywhere. And just zero mind is paid to this because it almost seems like there are people out there who want this type of thing to go on.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, as much as we can't control like anybody's behavior on a given day or how they're suffering and all of that, we could at least look into, because it's pretty much in public, in plain sight right now. So that's all I want to point out, is that like these fandoms exist, they're real, and why nobody's investigating or taking them seriously, they're just a breeding ground for exactly this kind of thing. Because if that person has no access to those weapons, they would go on these forums and somebody would help them carry out their attack, because again, they're like entranced by these kinds of things. I mean, I just want to point that out there. It's a huge problem. The same thing with the shooter, the girl shooter. I just forgot her name now. Same thing. They also had these like previous school shooters and stuff that they were, that they like put up on a pedestal and wanted to be just like them, and all of that stuff. So I don't know if it's the drugs, I don't know if it's that, but I know there's a huge problem with school shooter fandoms or mass shooter fandoms.
Very
That's
true.
interesting, actually. In the sense of, obviously, yeah, that's something they need to look
But
into.
who's
That's something
encouraging
else
them to
to
do these
investigate,
things? That's
because
the question.
if there are such fandoms, then therefore that would be the first place you would be having, for example, the FBI or DHS looking, but unfortunately they're too busy rounding up individuals who write op-eds against Israel. Let's bring in who was it gonna? But yeah, great point actually. Appreciate it.
Wasn't this guy on police radar, just like all the others seemingly?
It's a
Did-
good question. Was he? I never saw any
I think
report on him.
I think I saw that, or somebody mentioned that to me. Sarah might know.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Was this guy visited by police or FBI or on
Not
anybody's?
that I know of, but I mean, obviously he was under some sort of mental health care as that's required, but no, not that I know of.
Right, jump in.
Yeah, I actually forgot a couple of times what I was going to say, but now what I think, so it's very important to note that basically I think in general these kids, that these young men or young women, these kids that end up doing that, the common thread is that, and especially when they go to school, it's a kid that really struggled in school in terms of not being able to be part of, and eventually it just turned into hates of other kids, into hate of school. And if you add the transgender problem, that even makes it you know harder to tolerate. And then, if, like Trillian has said, there's spaces or groups you can go to so as soon as the thought comes into your mind, where shit, you know what, I hate life, and now I can do something about it, and it looks like it's happening so much, it's picking up it's picking up momentum, this kind of thing. And then if there is spaces they can go to and be encouraged and helped with getting the guns and everything, then absolutely, like, that's, I don't know if you could call that like almost an epidemic. but I want to just I noticed something. So all the writings on this gun happen to have happened at one time. So I'm wondering if this so that person probably thought these guns are going to be found, and I need to promote stuff on them. That's the only reason why, in ideological terms, there are a lot of things that do not like almost cancel each other out. You know, the hate of this and the hate of that. I think it was sort of the names of these things. These people who these people apparently are fans of. Okay, that makes sense. But why would you write them all on the same day? Because it looks like it's not like, because like if you own a skateboard or whatever, over the years you'd write stuff on it, but you'd find different colored pens or whatever. No, everything was written in one time, and one sitting, you can tell. And I'm wondering, I don't know what I was wondering, but yeah, because now it's here, it's 2 p.m., 2 a.m. actually. That's why I don't know what I'm wondering anymore. I'll leave it at that. I have to go to sleep, man. You guys are ruining my fucking routine. All right, love you all. Thanks.
Thanks for that, right? Let's go to Stephanie. Stephanie, you had a hand up.
I've kind of forgotten what I was going to say. I forgot my hand was up, but I think the last like four speakers have pretty much summed up what I was wanting to get across. That it's not just one thing. It's like a perfect storm. And we do see trends. Okay, like I think over the past 4 years, well, past decade at least, this victim mentality has become more and more kind of mainstream, and it just so happens the past like 4 or 5 years, it's been the trans ideology. Everybody's a victim, and these people, I'm not just saying the trans people, but people who, have these feelings or whatever. It's the perfect storm. It's SSRIs, it's hormones, with the people that are transitioning, but it's also these echo chambers that people get into because they want the confirmation bias. They want to find their little tribe. And when there's a tribe of people who are constantly feeling, because of what society's telling them, oh, you're so discriminated against, or all these different things, the world's against you. It's like a mob mentality. These people that want to hear these things, it's almost like they embolden each other. And you know if there's 10 people in a group and everybody feels this way, they're going to uh, make it worse or heighten, these feelings that they're feeling. And they're also going to push people to do things and say, yeah, man, go shoot up a school. They talk about it like all these heroes that they worship, like, prior school shooters. And half the most of the people in that group don't have the balls to go, or not, I don't want to say that, like it's the thing you should do, but they don't have maybe the nerve to do it. But then this one person feels like they're going to be the one, and it's a group think, it's a mob mentality. And a lot of, with social media and all these different things that people have access to now, it just makes it more pervasive. You can find any group that you want to, if you're looking for confirmation bias or to feel what you want to hear. So I think it's a perfect storm.
Why is Bob Hope
Trini,
trending?
did you send me some, because I did a tweet where I basically showed a couple of the logos and said that one of them was the O9A logo, but this woman is saying that it's not. Do you want to explain it? Because you're saying it's more of a, again, it kind of goes with the argument that or the thesis that you presented earlier, right?
Yeah, so BX on X, she does a lot of exposés on these satanic cults that groom children online. So she's kind of become the de facto expert on that. If you believe it, believe it or not, like very few people are actually interested into looking into these cults, and she's been quite successful at exposing a lot of them. Some of the cases are quite famous. We don't have to get into them now. But she claims that this is actually an ode, so that like square-like symbol with the triangles on all corners is a nod to the Highland Park mass shooter Bobby Crimo. And then she shows the a fan page for that, I guess, for that person, and they have that same symbol as their banner, right? So I guess he was a musician or something like that. But yeah, it just comes down to this thing is that there's an entire community of people out there that look at these things like we see it as so abhorrent. How do we stop it? And they're really looking at like, well, how do we enable each other? You know, and so if you have some, like, for example, this person thinks they have cancer. This person vapes a lot. I guarantee anyone who vapes a lot feels like they have lung cancer after a certain period, or, you know, because it messes up your lungs. But do you,
Yeah.
like, is there a No, you go into these rooms and they will convince you that, yeah, you know, you might as well go out with a bang and all
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
stuff.
That's right.
And because they're so
So
suggestible,
true.
their hormones are all messed up. They're on all these, you know, these different, that's what it all plays into. It's they're just so primed for this like hypnosis, this type of mind control. And one other one I wanted to point out is the BlackRock reference. Well, why does BlackRock come up? Like, obviously, I don't think like BlackRock is like sponsoring it, but they see BlackRock as an acceleration to like end times. That's what BlackRock has become. Like, basically, these kids now believe that everything is just so screwed up, they have no chance in this world, that like just let BlackRock have it. Like, they've pretty much capitulated to it. And that's why they use that reference too, because they see it as an acceleration to
So you,
destruction, which
so
couldn't be sadder. Yeah.
so Trillian, so sorry, was your argument that the reason they mentioned BlackRock is to kind of put two fingers up at BlackRock, or for some, what was your point you were trying to make?
They see no future. They see no future. Like, basically, they see that like BlackRock is an acceleration to like the destruction of society, of all that stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
So when they said
they,
like sponsored by BlackRock, he means like the youth, like the entirety of it all, the like the tragedy, the dystopian, like it's all of it.
yeah, it's basically, it's like you could imagine, it might be easier to understand. It's like Satan is here, right? Like, and that's what they see BlackRock as. It's like that dark force that sort of swallows everything up anyway, right? They see it as inevitable now, so it really doesn't matter what they do, and they can justify it in their mind that they can sit in these rooms and they plan this stuff out. Like, they have ideas, they encourage each other, they get each other different stuff, like they teach each other about these shootings. Like, it's just yeah, that's like the unfortunate part of like, you wouldn't think, right? Like, we talk about BlackRock's financials and their, you know, stuff like that, but they just see it as like end times, a sign of the end times.
So, Trillian, do
Awesome.
you
I've got
think?
this woman that you mentioned. I've got her coming into the space. She'll be here soon, so we can ask her some of these questions. Listen, you send me a link. I'll get the peeps in. This is what we do. We are the people. But just on that, you know, the way I saw it, I just want to hear your thoughts on this. And actually, I'll ask this BX woman when she comes in. But the way I saw it was because like like if you haven't read a little bit about this, when you look at the satanic cults or Satanism, a part of Satanism or the satanic cults are that when you partake in some form of satanic act, the person who's behind it, the way that it helps this kind of satanic evil nature is if you actually tell the people what you're really doing. But because when you tell the people what you're really doing, you think, oh wow, this is like mental, it can't be true. In a way, their mind automatically rejects it, but it adds strength to that kind of satanic, demonic, evil act by actually telling people the truth. And so it's possible, or the way I saw it, and I want to hear your thoughts, and we'll hear our thoughts as well, is that the reason he says sponsored by BlackRock is maybe BlackRock is behind it, or maybe BlackRock has supported it somehow, and that's him paying homage to BlackRock, and by basically mentioning them saying sponsored by BlackRock. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, exactly. Again, because they have their own little in-group conspiracies as well, and maybe that's the thing in those circles, that BlackRock is pushing this type of agenda. Like, they want this chaos and this sort of unrest. But what I would pay attention to there as well is how ritualized this become. Like, this person wrote a note, probably, like, there's no mistakes, there's no crossing out, there's no nothing. It is a clean copy, meaning it was probably written more than once, and it's laminated so that if it gets blood on it or whatever, right?
I just
Everything is
see.
like,
Okay, brilliant.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Trillian. Yeah, she's come up.
Oh no, that's perfect. If she's come in, I'd certainly hand it off to her. I would just say, look at the ritual, how ritualized this process has become. Everything is marked perfectly. The pages are laminated. The videos made. Like, this is like a procedure now. a ritual.
Yeah. I just want to welcome BX on. I don't know what your real name is, but I appreciate you coming on in such short notice. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I kind of just jumped in here, so I don't really know what's going on. And there's live music in the background, and I'm like 2 beers deep. It's been a really weird day. Um, so
Awesome. This is
I,
what we do. Listen,
you
there's
know
no
what?
we
I'm on a business trip. I'm like out of state. I was like in a conference room all day for work, and my phone was exploding. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And then when I see kids got shot, I'm like, I hate having to be the expert on this shit, unfortunately. So I had to go out and a couple of drinks, and try to loosen up a little.
Yeah, look, we appreciate you coming on under such a short notice. We've been having a very long space about this with a large number of people listening in. And then Trillian mentioned that you were an expert on this. So I said, look, let me just message you. And you came immediately. So we really appreciate you coming in. I guess we've got a few questions for you because I'm guessing you'll probably want to get off soon as well. I'm looking at your thread. So the first point is I'm just to go to your tweet. You mentioned that you showed a logo and then you said this is not an O9A logo. Instead, he's paying homage to a previous mass shooter. Do you want to explain that a little bit to the audience?
Yeah, so I mean, over the past 2 years or so, I've kind of cemented myself as an expert on O9A and 764, which is a child exploitation network that's loosely connected to O9A. If this shooting were connected to O9A or 764, I'd be the first person reporting on it. You better believe me, right? But one thing about me is that I haven't released any actual like reports or statements yet because I like to take my time and assess everything and make sure everything is confirmed before I put anything out. I feel like I owe that to my audience. They come to me for facts, not speculation. Unfortunately, what I found so far is that the 764 links are not only are they not confirmed, but I don't think there's any basis to them. The Order of Nine Angles, that is not a logo for Order of Nine Angles. I don't know where I don't know where that came from or why somebody said that in the first place. But if I can just shill my Substack here for a second, I've put out something like 40, 50 articles about mass shooters and different extremist ideologies, specifically the ones connected to these satanic ideologies. And one of my bread and butter is the Highland Park mass shooting in Highland Park near Chicago by Robert Cremo. He's that weirdo that you might remember. It was like this rapper, Awake the Rapper. He shot from a rooftop at a 4th of July parade. He had this logo that was the exact same logo. We spent so much time trying to decipher this kid's weird manifesto, trying to decipher his logo, which we did eventually concede that it was kind of unique to him. That logo can mean other things, but it's all pretty fringe, weird stuff. I think it's far more likely it was just a nod to one of his favorite mass shooters. You could see all over his weapons, other mass shooters were referenced. So far, what it looks like is this kid is just another one, what we call a TCC / LARPer core kind of troll. We've been seeing this a lot lately. I have very comprehensive articles on my Substack about the Madison, Wisconsin mass shooting by Samantha Rupnow, who he had written on his gun. That was influenced by some of these communities that I call satanic accelerationist communities. And it's very heavily influenced by Eastern Bloc. So it's not surprising to me to see him writing in Cyrillic, even though his Russian is total dog shit, if not complete gibberish, which I think people are starting to find out. But yeah, so those things kind of indicate to me that he falls in this new category that the FBI is calling nihilistic violent extremists. These people are basically just groomed on Discord and in these really harmful online communities. Most of them are neurodivergent. Some of them are trans. They're really just social rejects who fell into these Discord communities and were kind of goaded by other people into committing these mass shootings for notoriety reasons. And so the main thing to understand here is that like any references he put on his gun, BlackRock, Brandon Herrera for president, kill Trump, he's kill Hamas, kill Israel. Like this kid is just vomiting ideology stuff all over the place because he wants to get a rise out of people, and he knows, as all of them know, that all of these things will be interpreted selectively by different people. And so their goal is to get a rise out of as many people as possible. So when we politicize the shootings or try to assign motives based on some of these things they were trolling about, we're really just giving them exactly what they want. This is one of the fundamental kind of tenets of accelerationism. So anyways, if this stuff is interesting to you guys, like I'm open to any questions, and I'd also like to point you to my pinned tweet where I have a 5-part video series in a thread that explains how me, a normal suburban mom, somehow ended up a subject matter expert in this very weird fringe space that's now becoming a lot more like I've been doing this for like 3 years and only recently have people actually been like listening to me. So it's very weird. The videos I put out are good. And I would also say that those videos could save your kid's life. So please, if you have kids, please watch those videos and get an understanding of how unmonitored access to the internet can lead your kid down one of these paths to either be a victim or possibly even a shooter. So yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah,
Hopefully
guys. So
that
do
makes
check out.
sense.
Sorry, what was your name?
Becca, but it's BX on X.
Okay, so everyone, yeah, do check out BX's pinned tweet on her page, as well as the Substack. If you go to beacons.ai slash BX links, which is on her bio, you can click on it, and then it's the first link. You can check out her Substack as well. I've got another question for you. Some of you we were discussing just before you came, which because you said that your expertise is in these satanic cults. Now, one of the things he says in the video is he says, "Oh, sponsored by BlackRock." Now,
Yeah.
it could be what you said, which is that he just wants to, again, say something that's going to create conversation. Another thing is within satanic cults, the bits I've read about it is sometimes with satanic cults, they believe that doing like demonic things, that being honest about something that's happening, causes that evil, demonic, satanic thing to work a lot more better. Do you think? I mean, is that something you've read? A and B. Do you think that was happening here?
I wouldn't honestly like to be completely honest. I wouldn't overthink it. I mean, these guys word vomit stuff that they think are gonna get a rise out of people, that they think are gonna get people talking, that they think are gonna get people to say, "See, I knew he was connected to BlackRock," because it's almost a meme at this point, right? Thomas Crooks had this like vague connection to BlackRock, and so it's almost like a meme. It's the same thing. If you're gonna, here's what I'll say logically, right? If you're going to take one thing he said at face value, that means you have to take everything he said at face value. So if you're going to take at face value that he was like genuinely connected to BlackRock, then you have to also say, okay, well, maybe he was actually endorsing Brandon Herrera. Like, obviously not. The kid was just spewing a bunch of stuff that he thought would get people talking. And, getting people talking is exactly what he wanted. And so kind of my position has been to kind of take away their power by talking about the reality, which is that this kid didn't even know what the fuck BlackRock was. He was an idiot. He was a loser online Discord troll with a lot of hate in his heart and a lot of bad voices in his ears telling him to go do horrible things. It's at the same time sad and also just horrific. It pisses me off, and I don't want to give these guys any kind of like unnecessary power, right? So no, I don't think he's connected to BlackRock. I don't even think he knows anything about it. It's just you have to take everything they're saying at a very superficial level.
So can I ask
One
what?
of the things he talked about. Oh, sorry, someone got a question.
Yeah, real quick. So,
Yeah, go for it.
so Beck, in other words, kind of what you're saying is it's in a way Occam's razor that it's not a grand intelligence conspiracy. These are people looking for attention. A bunch of other jerk offs like him are encouraging him to do this, and that's pretty much what it is. It's just simplify it and break it down for that, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, so when I started this journey, I was in the camp of like, oh, it's all intelligence operations. But the more I investigated, the more I researched, the deeper I dug, the more I found that it's kind of a cope to tell ourselves, oh, it's all intelligence agencies, because when we tell ourselves that, we're ignoring the reality, which is that anyone's kid could fall victim to this if you're not paying attention to them online. That there are these really harmful online subcultures that get kids together and kind of, incite them to go commit violent acts against society. And the intelligence agencies don't even need to be involved in that. It's an organic phenomenon that happens when a bunch of socially rejected kids get together and become terminally online together. Most of these kids, when you look at them, you can kind of tell they're neurodivergent or just kind of different, right? Um, and so, yeah, no, it's my opinion that, I have to laugh kind of when people say, "Oh, it's the FBI." Bro, I'm telling you right now, the FBI is not competent enough to pull anything like that off. Like, not at all. I really do think this is just an organic phenomenon. That's my opinion. People are free to disagree, but I've been deep enough to have like ended up in the manifestos of some of these fuckers. So, I mean, I guess if you're willing to go that deep and then come to your own conclusion, then go for it, but be really careful.
Guys, if anybody's got a question for BX, put your questions in the comments. You can do it via the super chat in the nest, or even if you're in the speakers, you got a question, put your hand up, or just jump in with a question. It's fine. One of the things that was mentioned, because we have got Sarah did send me a thread of someone Nathaniel Westerman, who's translating a lot of the his journal. One of the things he says in his journals is that, and I guess is it something you think he's just saying again to arise a reaction, or do you think he was actually thinking like this? Because both are possible. But he's talking about harming animals. He's talking about burning animals, dogs, rats.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't read that yet. I think I have the tweet thread on that and haven't actually gone through the whole thing. But yeah, actually, harm to animals is a big thing that we see. Not just with these satanic influence shooters, but with mass shooters in general and serial killers. I mean, harming animals is a huge psychological indicator that somebody's going to be predisposed to violence. Um, so now that doesn't surprise me at all, and it also kind of makes me that's also pretty interesting. It makes me wonder if he is actually linked to one of these groups that we call calm. Calm is like it's a term you're probably going to start hearing a lot more. It's short for the community. I tell people to think of calm as like the dark web, like a dark web cyber criminal network, but that network operates on encrypted apps and social media apps like Discord, Telegram, Signal, Wire. So it's basically they do all the same thing dark web criminals do, but they do it using apps. That's basically what calm is. And you see a lot of these overlapping online subcultures starting to emerge. One of them I already mentioned called LARPer core, which is where they basically just vomit a bunch of aesthetics that don't mean anything as kind of a troll. Um, but there's definitely also a lot of animal abuse stuff that comes with these comm groups. So that is something that would kind of make me wonder if he could be connected to one of those groups more significantly.
Yeah. And guys, if you got any more questions for BX, then just do send them through via the super chat in the next.
I
Go
do
ahead.
have a question actually. Like, I just find it odd that you are like,
Uh-oh.
obviously you're
Uh-oh.
the expert on this, but like, to me it seems like kind of like an extreme leap to be like, well, no, he was just, doodling, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the intelligentsia. It's like that, like, a lot of this stuff on those weapons suggests a lot of narratives that the intelligentsia would want. Like the whole like
Mhm.
anti, like pushing this idea like, oh, the serial killer was
She just got
anti-Semitic.
through
Yeah,
explaining
but when
why.
she says
Well,
that the
yeah, but
FBI is not competent to do this, they're really not. They
Yeah,
don't.
they're
but it doesn't
they're
have to
actually
be the
retarded.
FBI. Who
Yeah,
says it
you're
has to
right.
be the
No,
FBI?
I
I'm
would
just
say
saying
like,
you
yeah.
can't write off external like influence.
I mean,
Okay, go ahead,
I,
BX.
I I am writing it off just because of my expertise in these like shootings, right? Like in the past, like since December, in December we had the Madison, Wisconsin shooter Samantha Rupnow. Then in February we had a copycat of her, Solomon Henderson. He actually went by an ex-handle Groitzel, who I'd been interacting with before the shooting, and I had actually sent his goddamn handle up to the FBI Fusion Center and said this guy's about to commit a mass shooting. 1 month later, he did commit a school shooting. So those are the last two major mass shootings in the U.S. Both of them were connected to these satanic accelerationist communities. Both of them are in Discord servers where I am, right. I'm in these Discord servers watching these kids radicalize each other. There would be, if I were an intelligence operative, there would be no need for me to be there because they're doing it on their own. So that's just what I've seen. I'm not going to say I can discount it completely. I don't think the FBI is involved, but if there was some kind of foreign intelligence community, then it's definitely way layers above where I can see or anyone can see. So all of that's going to remain speculation. I like to avoid speculation and just go with what I can see. Go with the simplest explanation, which is that these kids are radicalizing each other on Discord. I mean, it's really
Yeah, but
clear to
like,
see if
how?
you're in
What's the
there.
proof that they're all kids?
Well, I mean, what's the proof that they're not?
That
Hey,
You
BX,
know,
what would your recommendation be? I mean, if you had the ability to change something so that these shootings don't happen again, what's the
I mean,
solution?
so I mean, I've been in the weird and unique position to have prevented at least two mass shootings. Um, which sounds weird because it is, but one of the things is that we've really got our fingers on the pulse of this thing. So we're in these Discord servers, we're in these Telegram channels. It got to the point I got so in over my head and so deeply engaged in all of this that, like, the potential mass shooters are like in my Twitter comments talking to me. So they're right there if you know where to look. We what we really need is we need federal resources, and we need like the FBI and the media to stop doing their politicization stuff and to start talking about what's really going on, which is just that people are like leaving their kids unsupervised on the internet to radicalize and grow into monsters. We've seen it happen time and time and again. So my whole thing has been, like, since, from the beginning, my whole thing has been raising awareness and educating parents, trying to get parents to understand that, like, your kids are being radicalized in places like Roblox, Discord. Your kids shouldn't have those. Get them off, right? I think that by getting through to parents is like the best thing we can do, because it will basically take those future mass shooters away from those communities. I also think that, the FBI should dedicate more resources to, combating these groups, be it just by, and like, we've historically seen the FBI monitoring, like, right wing spaces and calling them all extremists when they're not even planning anything dangerous. Meanwhile, we've got people who are objectively planning dangerous things right here out in the open, and their resources are dedicated towards other things that maybe aren't as pressing. So I think more resources in these groups, more resources to, like, maybe trying to de-radicalize some of these kids that get in these spaces, because a lot of times we see kids in these spaces that they're clearly radicalized. They could be the next shooter easily, like Solomon Henderson was. I looked at him and I was like, this kid's going to commit a shooting. When you see a kid like that, it's hard because the FBI doesn't have a lot of authority to actually go in and help those kids. Community resources can be used to kind of go in and help kids that are radicalizing like that, and try to kind of de-escalate them and get them away from those groups. So there's a lot of things, and I could talk for a million years about it, but I mean, hopefully that at least give you a couple of answers to your question.
appreciate that. Michael, you had a question?
I asked it. I was the one who
Oh,
asked her how to change it, because I think people are sick of these school shootings, and I think something needs to change, because I don't think anybody wants to turn on the news and see another one of these. I
No,
I think it's terrible, and if BX is the expert and she's giving good advice, then I think people should listen to her.
thank you. I mean, nobody's more pissed off and tired of it than me, I promise. I don't want to be a subject matter expert in this. I want it to stop. It breaks my heart. I have an 8-year-old daughter, hearing about kids get shot and thinking, like, damn, that person could have engaged with me on X. So, like, the first thing I do when I see a mass shooting is I start figuring out which one of my followers did this. It's a really fucked up place to be. Really fucks with my head. So yeah, I definitely want to fix it. I've been lately, people have started listening to me just in the past 6 months, and they coined this new term, nihilistic violent extremists, which, okay, I would have picked something else, but whatever. Um, they started to really dedicate resources to it. The FBI opened up over 250 investigations into the child exploitation network 764 just in the past 6 months. So there's a lot of good signs that things are happening, and I'm happy to lend my experience if that helps to save people's lives. I'll talk to anybody about it. But, my number one thing is getting through to parents and, getting them to monitor what their kids are doing and keeping them away from these like subversive ideologies that are harmful. Like if your kid's getting into like Nazis and Satanism and transgenderism shit and they're like 14, get them the fuck off Discord. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like these are all like big red flags we see before kids start getting radicalized. So it's not political. It's just, if anything, I would say that, one thing I have seen is some of these communities weaponized by foreign extremist groups, foreign terror organizations get into these groups and they weaponize these kids as a terror attack against the US, especially people in the Eastern Bloc. So that's also something we see. It's a national security emergency, like to be real with you.
Yeah. Stephanie, you got a question?
No, actually, I just wanted to stump on BX a little bit. BX, you do amazing, amazing work. You really do. I mean, and not just on this subject, but this is, I know your main your expertise, but you do work that most of us would not have the backbone or the stomach to do. And, I'd probably slip my wrist if I knew half the things that you know, but thank you so much. And if I was there, I would buy you a drink.
Oh,
So
thank you.
go and have a
My
shot of
company's buying my
tequila.
drinks tonight, so
Go and have a shot of tequila for me, and thank you so much for
I
everything you do.
appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot.
Thanks for that, BX. Is there any last comments you want to make? Obviously, you're more than welcome to stay on the space however long you want, but any last comments about this issue? And then we appreciate you coming on at such short notice. I know you're out relaxing a
I
bit, so
have a
thanks.
question, a
Go
really
ahead,
quick
Sarah.
one. So these kids, do you find them to be influenced by any original ideology or philosophy? Like, are they Nietzschean? Are they Yarvanites? Are they do they cite or read any philosophers?
Occasionally we'll come across one of these kids who is really into that kind of stuff, but for the most part, I mean, no, what we've noticed is that they're mostly just like larper core is very descriptive in what it means, right? They're larping these different ideologies and they usually don't even know what any of them mean. Even when they're doing the occultist stuff and the satanic stuff, they're not deep enough into that culture to really like affect a ritual change, right? They're very superficial level on all of their ideological beliefs. So, but occasionally we'll find one that's like really into some weird niche thing. But I'd say it's far more common for them to just kind of be vomiting out all of this stuff like superficially.
Appreciate that, BX. And thanks for coming on. Any last comments you want to make before? You're more than welcome to continue. Oh, sorry, you got Trillian. You got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick, and by the way, I've seen the attack on BX. That's why I've like as soon as something like this happens, I immediately just check her timeline. It's good protocol. But I wanted to ask you about like so this like site selection. Like we see a lot of churches, schools. Like, is there something pervasive about why specifically they pick these targets? And like, have you noticed any correlation between like a separate timeline event and then one of these shootings occurring, right? Like, is there a trigger? Like what I'm wondering is there just a bunch of these people who are kind of primed and ready to go and they just need some activation, what you think that that might be?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's what you said. They're primed and ready to go, and they start thinking where would be the best place to target. And then I think, they go from there. They either pick something like we've seen them pick places that are just convenient to them, right? They're local. We've seen them pick schools, obviously. That's the biggest one. And it's usually schools they attend or used to attend. I think I haven't had a chance to completely dig into this recent one, but I think his mom used to work at the school he was at, and he also seemed to have a problem with Christians, and he did have a lot of satanic symbolism on his stuff, which to me that points to like, some kind of deep resentment towards Christianity, which he was maybe taking out on the school. That would just be my initial kind of gut feel on that one. But I think that they more often than not they choose their targets based on convenience and familiarity to them, if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate everything you do, BX. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. It's a weird, tough thing to be like an expert on. I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah.
Well, did you kind of fall into it? Because I remember early on when I first saw your profile come up, you were talking about like politics, I think election stuff or something. Like, did you just kind of fall into this?
Was I? Maybe. So you can actually on my Substack, I'll show it again, but you can go to my Beacons link on my bio, and my Substack is there. I've got an article about how I fell into everything, and then also again, I'll just point you to that 5-part video series. It's pinned to my pinned tweet, but it's also on Rumble, and you can kind of hear the story of how. I made my way into this world as just a private investigator, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, I'm a normie. I'm not like a government or like I'm an academic or anything. It's very strange.
Well, BX, any last comments you want to make on this issue? We appreciate you coming on and shouldn't a short notice, and I think people have learned quite a bit since you've been on here. But yeah, do jump in with your last comments, and then you're more than welcome to stay on. But yeah, I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. No, I gotta go. I have an early flight tomorrow. So, but thank you for having me on, and I hope people learned about this. And please go watch my video series and share it with other parents and try to, our best line of defense here is keeping kids from falling into these groups in the first place.
Yeah, completely agree. Thank you so much, BX, for coming
Yep.
on. I appreciate it under short notice, and we probably will bring you back on when
Yeah,
there is a relevant
sure.
topic. But I appreciate you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. That was BX. Do check out her page. She's got a pinned tweet about the work she does and her Substack as well. So do check that out. Also, a couple of other things I want you to check out. One is this Dee Dee's thread on this. She's gone through all the individual things related to that. We didn't manage to go through all the individual items in the space. We did more of a holistic thing. But if you want to look at the granular details on the specific items on those items or those weapons or whatever, you can check that out. Also, I've quote tweeted the thread that Didi sent me of Nathaniel Westerman, which is he's translating the manifesto. I believe he's got through quite a bit of it. He's not completed it, so he's still working on it, but it's a bit of a graph, so you got to give him how to quote tweet it, because that type of thing does take a lot of time and effort, and therefore it'd be good for people to see it. So I've quote tweeted that. If you want to check that out, that would be golden as well. I've got a super chat. Chai, are you bringing the bag in for me? I gotta say. So this is a £50 super chat. It says Chai keeps interrupting. Control her. She said guys transitioning is because they're creeps. Then she tries gaslighting when she's caught agreeing with your counter argument. Laugh.
Oh my God. It's going to open the floodgates again.
Sorry?
Going to open the floodgates
I
again,
know. I was
silly.
thinking. I was like, I don't want to read this because it's gonna open the floodgates. And then I was like, but then he sent me 50 quid. Like, what can I
Yeah,
do? That's
you're obligated to read.
exactly. It's like 60, 70 American dollars. That's a huge super chat. So anyway, guys, we'll agree with your account. LMAO smash Sully. More easy. Appreciate your support more of the space. Really appreciate you. Listen, I think this was a golden space. I think we talked about a wide range of issues. It was brilliant. I enjoyed it. I think we had a lot of fun, a lot of discussion. Listen, I enjoyed the discussion with Chai. It was no problem. You gotta sometimes smash. It's really good. That being said, I want to thank every single listener. Like, guys, you guys are awesome. The fact that no one could see these spaces, the fact that no one was aware and still all of you came is highly, highly appreciated. It really does mean a lot. I was actually contemplating, should I do the space or not? Because without the blue check mark, I was thinking nobody's going to see the space, so is it worth doing? But still, we got 900 people in the space. That is pretty amazing. So if you can go to my profile, hit the follow and hit the notifications on, you'll be aware, because we'll be back tomorrow for 2 more spaces. One is the finance space that me and Simon do. That'll be at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then we'll be back for our normal politics space where we start sometime between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be fire. I want to thank each and every single one. Thanks, Sarah, for coming to the space as well and bringing in the people from your space onto the space as well. Thanks to every single person who came to the space, who contributed to the space. Every single one of you were awesome. It was a golden discussion. We'll be back again tomorrow, as I said. That being said, appreciate you guys joining in. I appreciate you guys listening, and for sure, we will see you next time.
All right, peeps, that's it for me. Shutting down for the night. Thank you to all of you that came by and listened. Have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.